जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि बोल। Thank you once again, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, for kindly hosting this 41st session on Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. I'm very grateful also to Param Karuna Prabhu, to all the wonderful devotees who are part of this journey in diving deeper into the teachings of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and who are kindly giving their time to listening to the entire series and asking many wonderful questions online and also offline in the group. My sincere thanks to each and every one of you. We are continuing our discussion on the third verse, and this is the 41st session. Before we continue, I'd once again like to recite the verse that was composed especially for this verse of the Siksastakam. Siksastakam chedridaye nivishtam Kim Shastrapatho Divilodhanena Siksastakam chedridaye anivishtam Kim Shastrapatho Divilodhanena. If Siksastakam has truly entered the heart, what is the need of churning the ocean of Shastra? And if Siksastakam has not truly entered the heart, what is the use of churning the ocean of Shastra? Dear devotees, it is also our standard practice to have a new verse glorifying Harinam in every session. Here is the verse for today. In fact, these are two verses that glorify Harinam, and these are from the Bhagavan Nam Mahatmya Sangraha. They are as follows. Ananyagatayo martya bhoginopi parantapa jnana vairagya rahita brahmacharyadi varjita sarvadharmojhita vishnur नाममात्रैक जल्पका सुखेन याम गतिम यान्ति नताम सर्वेपि धार्मिका. Ananyagatayo martya, mortals, who are ananyagatayo, who are one pointed in their devotion. Bhoginopi parantapa, they may be sense enjoyers. Now a question arises here, how can a sense enjoyer be one pointed in their devotion? So the answer to this is that the one pointedness is that they do not take shelter of any other deity, and they have taken exclusive shelter of Bhagavan, even though their tendencies for sense enjoyment have not gone away. This is the meaning of Ananya Gatayo, that they have no other recourse. So they may be sense enjoyers. Jnana Vairagya Rahita, they may be devoid of Jnana, knowledge of the impersonal Brahman, and Vairagya, detachment and renunciation from the world. Brahmacharya Adi Varjita, and they may be bereft of Brahmacharya, etc. And Sarva Dharma Ujjita, and they may have given up all of their occupational dharma, all of their occupational duties. Yet, Vishnu Nama Matraika Jalpaka, if they utter the name of Vishnu exclusively, then Sukhena Yam Gatim Yanti, they happily attain that destination, Natam Sarve Dharmika, which cannot be attained even by those who follow their respective dharmas, but those who are devoid of bhakti. In this way, dear devotees, the utterance of Bhagavan's Naam has the capability of raising a person to the highest standard, despite the fact that they may be engrossed in various types of sense enjoyment and may be disqualified from many points of view. This is a great set of verses from Bhagavan Nam Mahatmya Sangraha. This is the current verse under discussion. tṛṇād api sunīcena taror api sahiṣṇunā amāninā mānadena kīrtanīyaḥ sadā hariḥ. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu kindly read the Anvay.
Hari is worthy of constant glorification by one who is lower than a blade of grass, more forbearing than a tree, devoid of false pride, and who gives due respect to others.
Wonderful. So Hari is worthy of constant glorification by one who is lower than a blade of grass, more forbearing than a tree, devoid of false pride, and who gives due respect to others. Wonderful verse, and we have a clear translation. In the previous session, we were discussing about genuine humility, and we saw the comments of Shri Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, wherein he says that genuine humility is not just false pretense of falling down on the ground and trying to act in a way that externally appears to be humble. Genuine humility is actually to be a servant of a Vaishnava, servant of an Uttam Adhikari, Mahabhagavat Vaishnava. That is what genuine humility, tṛṇād api sunīcena, verse means in practical day-to-day life. We had seen that last time in great detail. And at the end of the previous presentation, we dived into the one main cause of developing humility, and that was by Shri Chanakya Pandit, wherein he said something. The first step is, he says, Vinayasya Moolam Vriddha Upaseva. The cornerstone of humility, the root of humility is Upaseva, the personal dedicated service of Vriddha, of the elderly learned souls. And then we also saw a verse from Shri Bhartrihari, where he said that previously, when I had little knowledge on my own strength, I was puffed up with great pride and I thought that I am omniscient. But when I came in the association of Vriddhas, the genuinely learned personalities, at that time, my entire euphoria of being omniscient, it faded away, just like a fever fades away in due course of time. And I became humble by seeing the level and of knowledge and realization that these great individuals had. The same principle is confirmed by Srila Prabhupada in a purport to Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada says something in a purport to the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, can you kindly read what Srila Prabhupada says?
Vriddha refers to one who is advanced in knowledge. There are two kinds of old men, he who is advanced in years and he who is experienced in knowledge. One who is advanced in knowledge is actually vriddha, jnana vriddha. One does not become vriddha simply by advancing in age. Vriddhashrayam, a person who takes shelter of a superior person who is advanced in knowledge, can acquire all the good qualities of a brahmana and be trained in good behavior. When one actually attains good qualities, becomes grateful for the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, he is endowed with all opulence.
This is the same principle that Chanakya Pandit specified in the previous sutra, Vriddha Upaseva. And Prabhupada is using the same term, Vriddha. And he defines Vriddha as somebody who's advanced in knowledge. And of course, Vriddha also means somebody who's advanced in age. Because to advance in knowledge, you have to spend a considerable number of years understanding a particular subject matter from different angles. And therefore, automatically, such a person also becomes Vriddha, advanced in age, It may be possible that there may be some individuals who have become vriddha, advanced in knowledge at a younger age. This is because of some scars, impressions from previous lifetimes. In any case, vriddha, upaseva, to render service to a vriddha is the best way of developing all good qualities, including genuine humility. And Srila Prabhupada says in the second paragraph, we can see vriddha ashrayam. A person who takes shelter of a superior person who's advanced in knowledge can acquire all the good qualities of a Brahmana and be trained in good behavior. So, this quality of tṛṇād api sunīcena can be easily developed if we are in close association of a genuine vriddha, of a person who has understood true humility, who is living the life of true humility, and who can teach us what true humility looks like. I'm very thankful to Adi Bhagwan Prabhu who sent me this quote after the previous session. He said that there is an exact quote from Srila Prabhupada which matches what Chanakya Pandit says. So I have included this particular quote from Srila Prabhupada, which specifies how Vriddha Upaseva, close personal service of the Vriddhas, is Vinayasya Moolam. It is the cornerstone of humility. Dear devotees, we have to see that if there is a certain person considered to be a leader in the society, we have to see if the leader has spent time rendering service as a servant. And only when a leader has spent time rendering service as a servant to a vriddha, then we know that this particular leader has given the prime years of their life understanding genuine humility and living genuine humility. Dear devotees, the leader could have used the prime years of their life to project themselves as a leader and become famous. But instead of that, they were rendering service to the gurus, to the parampara, and they were spending the prime years of their life in that particular seva. That is the first indication of humility, the tendency to sacrifice one's best years of life in staying in up close personal association of a more advanced Vaishnava. And we can ascertain that because they have sacrificed the most important years of their life in doing so. There is no greater indication of humility, subservience than this. And therefore, Shri Chanakya Pandit and Srila Prabhupada have both arrived at the same conclusion. Vinayasya Moolam Vriddha Upaseva. That the cornerstone of humility is service of the vriddhas. Now, dear devotees, I had also specified in a previous session that there is a unique interpretation of tṛṇād api sunīcena verse, and this unique interpretation has been given by a wonderful Vaishnava, and this particular Vaishnava, his name is Shri Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj. He has his commentary on the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and his commentary is called Amritanu Kana. Amrita means nectar, Anu Kana, which is, a very tiny particle of nectar. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Mahashay's commentary on the Chaitanya Charitamrita is called Amrita Pravaha, the flow of nectar. And this is Amrita Anukana, a tiny particle from that flow of nectar. That is the meaning of his commentary. He was the disciple of Shri Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, and he was a very, very learned Vidwan, a very learned Vaishnava, very realized Vaishnava, who could quote so many verses from memory. In fact, when other speakers would struggle to remember verses, he would often complete their verses. He understood Shastra in great detail, and he wrote his commentary on the Chaitanya Charitamritam, which is called Amrita Anukana. And in this commentary, he gave a very unique interpretation of the tṛṇād api sunīcena verse. So I am discussing the most essential points from his commentary. He says, the words emanating from the mouth of Shri Gaurasundar are like a garden in which the blossomed, flowered, completely mature fruits of the Vedanta Sutras and the Vedas are existing. So, dear devotees, he made this very important point that these words, tṛṇād api sunīcena, taror api sahiṣṇunā, these words of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, these words are actually like a completely blossomed, flowered version of the Vedanta Sutras and Vedas. So, what he's trying to do here, dear devotees, is that he's trying to point out that there is a connection between the Vedanta Sutras and the tṛṇād api sunīcena verse. There is a connection between the Upanishads and the tṛṇād api sunīcena verse. Now, before I start explaining what he says, I would like to first explain the concept of Mahavakyas, because we are hearing a unique take from a very learned Vaishnava. So I am giving the introduction to what he is about to say. So what is Mahavakya? I will first and foremost explain. Dear devotees, in the tradition of Shri Adi Shankaracharya, which is called as Gyan Marg, it is said that in order to attain liberation, moksha, which is the final goal of those who are walking on the path of Gyan, we need to perform some sadhana. Just like in our Bhakti Marg, on the path of Bhakti, our sadhana is Shravanam, Kirtanam, etc. Similarly, on the path of Gyan, the sadhana is to repeatedly think about and meditate on the Mahavakyas. What is the meaning of Mahavakya? Maha is great, Vakya is statement. So it is described in a biography of Sri Adi Shankaracharya. Mahavakyani divyani tattvamasyadikānyapi mumukshubhi sada dhyayam rahasyam yadyadasti tat. The four transcendental Mahavakyas, such as Tattvamasi, etc., should be meditated upon by all those who desire liberation. And such people should also meditate upon the deeper secrets in those Mahavakyas. So Mahavakyas, dear devotees, Maha is great, Vakya is statement. So Mahavakya is great statement, and there are 4 or 5 great statements from the Upanishads. And these statements are constantly meditated upon by those who are following the path of Shri Adi Shankaracharya, those who are following the path of Upanishads, the path of Gyan. So meditation on these Mahavakyas, Tattvamasi, constant meditation, brings one to the level of Brahma realization, impersonal Brahman realization. So this is what is the meaning of Mahavakyas. The 4 main Mahavakyas, sometimes people say there are 5 Mahavakyas, some people say there are 6 Mahavakyas. But essentially the Mahavakyas, the main ones are as follows. The first one is Aham Brahmasmi. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, what is the meaning of Aham Brahmasmi?
I am Brahman.
I am Brahman. This is from the Brihadaranya Upanishad. This is the first Mahavakya which they meditate upon. Then the second Mahavakya, Tattvamasi. Prabhu, kindly read the translation.
That Brahman you are.
That is what Brahman. Tvam, you. Asi, are. Tat, tvam, asi. That Brahman, you are. So this is from the Chandogya Upanishad. Third is Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Prabhu.
Verily, everything that exists is Brahman.
So this is from the Brihadaranya Upanishad. Everything that exists is Brahma. And the fourth Mahavakya, Prajnanam Brahma.
Brahman is pure knowledge.
This is from the Aitareya Upanishad. So these four are considered as Mahavakyas. So in this way, these are the Mahavakyas. There are other Mahavakyas too. So these are the Mahavakyas that are frequently meditated upon by those who are following the path of Jnana Yoga. There are other Mahavakyas to Ayam Atma, Brahma, etc. But these are Mahavakyas from the Upanishads. And the Jnana Yogi meditates upon these repeatedly, meditates upon their meaning. Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, Pragyanam Brahma. And in this way tries to realize the non-difference of Brahma and the Jiva. And in this way tries to attain impersonal liberation. So these are the Mahavakyas, and meditating on the Mahavakyas is the sadhana of those who are following the path of Jnana Yoga. So I have explained the concept of Mahavakyas because they are a most important part of the sadhana of the Jnana Yogis. Now, dear devotees, Shri Bhaktivedanta Vaman Maharaj in his Amrutanukana says, the first quarter of our verse, tṛṇād api sunīcena. What does it mean? That a person should be lower than a blade of grass. It denotes the fully blossomed meaning of the first Mahavakya. And what is the first Mahavakya? Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. Now somebody may be confused and he says, on first glance, the meanings of these two statements may appear to be different. However, by the mercy of the Rupanuga followers of Mahaprabhu, we can see a beautiful connection that harmonizes their meaning. So what he's trying to say is that if you take the Vedantic statement, the Upanishadic statement, Aham Brahmasmi, and you blossom it out completely, you will arrive at tṛṇād api sunīcena. And how is that? He says the term tṛṇād api sunīcena, I am lower than a blade of grass, means that I am Gopi Bhartuhu Padakamalayor Dāsa Dāsa servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of the Lord of the Gopis. And this, dear devotees, we had seen in Shri Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj's commentary too, where he said that to be tṛṇād api sunīcena means to be a servant, slave of Vaishnavas. This is what he had said. So he is repeating the same point. And then he says the phrase Aham Brahmasmi, that I am not born from Maya Shakti. I am not a material object. I am not the enjoyer of matter. By my nature, I am a soul embraced by the Supreme Consciousness. Aham Brahma Asmi. Aham Brahmasmi is taken by the impersonalists to be I am Brahman. And by the Vaishnavas, it is taken as I belong to Brahman. So, I am a soul embraced by the Supreme Brahman, Shri Krishna. And therefore, Aham Brahmasmi, I belong to that Brahma. Then coming back to tṛṇād api sunīcena, he says a blade of grass has the lowest ego of all entities in the world. And then I is speaking of the jiva who has arrived at the stage of bhava and prema, do not even have that ego of being anything in the material world. I will always keep my atomic identity far away from the material world. So my ego is lesser even than the blade of grass, because the blade of grass, its ego is the least in the material world. There is no living entity whose ego is lesser than the ego of the blade of grass. But I, referring to the jiva who has attained bhava and prem, have no connection to the material world, and hence my ego is shunya, zero in connection to the material world. And therefore I am tṛṇād api sunīcena, that I am lower than a blade of grass in this sense. So dear devotees, aham brahmasmi, since I am a spirit soul connected to Bhagavan, Therefore, if you blossom out the meaning fully, I am tṛṇād api sunīcena, I am lowest of the low, because my ego in connection to the material world is shunya, zero. Then he continues to say, the second quarter of the verse is taror api sahiṣṇunā, more tolerant than a tree. This is the completely blossomed understanding of the second Mahavakya, Tat Tvamasi, that Brahman you are. Tattvamasi means the impersonalist takes the meaning that you are directly Brahman. The Vaishnava takes the meaning you belong to Brahman, you belong to Bhagavan. So he continues to explain the soul is a transcendental entity. It cannot lose its tolerance due to the effects of a trivial material entity. So what he's trying to say is because the jiva is completely transcendental to matter, there is no question of the jiva in its pure state becoming asahiṣṇu, becoming intolerant. Material entities, when he says material entities, he means living entities who are absorbed in material conception of life. Material entities become disturbed by other material entities, and hence intolerance is seen in them in this world. A spiritual entity, now when he says spiritual entity, means a jiva who has attained bhava and prem and has realized their swarupa, does not desire anything from the material entities. In this way, the pure entity is more tolerant than the tree. Because, dear devotees, the tree has at least some connection to the material world. But because the jiva is tattvamasi, it completely belongs to Bhagavan. Therefore, the jiva has zero connection to the material world. And therefore, the tree at least feels some agitation when it is hurt by an aggressor. But the pure jiva has no scope of feeling any agitation by any aggressor. In this way, the pure living entity is taror api sahiṣṇunā, more tolerant than a tree. So, if you blossom out the meaning of tattvamasi and take it to its furthest development, he says you will arrive at taror api sahiṣṇunā. Then he continues to explain. The third quarter of the verse is amāninā mānadena. One doesn't have any sense of pride and one gives all respects to others. He says this is a blossomed understanding of the third Mahavakya. Sarvam khalvidam Brahma. Verily, everything that exists is Brahma. And he says those devotees who see the supreme truth everywhere. Vasudeva sarvamiti. Those, he's speaking about the Mahabhagavatas who are seeing Shri Krishna everywhere in the universe. They do not differentiate between entities within this world. They give all respect to each and everyone. Thus they are amāninā mānadena. Dear devotees, automatically they are amāninā mānadena. Because they see sarvam khalvidam Brahma. Everything here is Brahman. What is their meaning of sarvam khalvidam Brahma? For the impersonalist, it means everything here is impersonal Brahman. For the Vaishnava, the meaning is Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Everywhere there is Spurti, there is realization of the form of Vasudeva. And therefore, every living entity should be given their due respect. And therefore, such an entity, such a person automatically becomes amāninā, doesn't expect any special respect for himself, mānadena, and gives respect to everyone by seeing the presence of Bhagavan within them. Finally, he says, the final quarter says, kīrtanīyaḥ sadā hariḥ. Hari is worthy of constant glorification. This is the blossomed understanding of the phrase, prajnanam Brahma. Brahma is prajnanam, pure knowledge. The term prajnanam, Brahma, he says actually means Hari Kirtan is pure knowledge. This is because Shastra says that those who have refined pure knowledge perform Sankirtan. Yagyai Sankirtana Prayai Yajantihi Sumedhasaha. In the 11th canto it is said that in Kali Yuga, Sumedhasaha, intelligent people perform Sankirtan. So intelligent people perform prajnanam, activities of knowledge. And what is that prajnanam? That greatest activity of knowledge, that sankirtan. That sankirtan is non-different from Brahma, Bhagavan himself. Prajnanam, Brahma. Prajnanam is the highest knowledge. And in Kali Yuga, the highest knowledge is Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So that is Prajnanam. And Brahma is none other than Shri Krishna himself. Prajnanam, Brahma. Sankirtan is Shri Krishna himself. So repeatedly perform this Sankirtan. This Sankirtan should be performed repeatedly until the goal is achieved. This is pure knowledge. Prajnanam. In this way, dear devotees, each and every quarter of the verse tṛṇād sunīcena is actually a Mahavakya and is actually a fully blossomed version of the Vedantic Mahavakyas. Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, Prajnanam Brahma. In this way, dear devotees, Shri Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj explains how by meditating on tṛṇād sunīcena, the Vaishnava is automatically performing the highest variety of meditation on the Mahavakyas of the Upanishads. And thereby, not only will moksha come to such a Vaishnava very easily, many higher gifts such as Krishna Prema, etc., will automatically be present in front of such a Vaishnava who meditates on the four Mahavakyas, tṛṇād sunīcena, taror sahiṣṇunā, amāninā, mānadena, kīrtanīyaḥ, sadā hariḥ. Dear devotees, we can see the acute intellect, the sharpness of his intelligence. As I said, he was a very learned Shastri, very learned scholar, and knew the Siddhantas very well. Dear devotees, to summarize, he has said that the four Mahavakyas, Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, etc., are referring to the four quarters of the verse. The first Aham Brahmasmi means I am Brahman, but the fully blossomed meaning is seen that I am a soul, not even having the ego of the blade of grass. This is how I am tṛṇād sunīcena. The second is Tattvamasi, you are that, Brahman. This refers to the fully blossomed meaning of taror sahiṣṇunā. The jiva is spiritual and has no material connection. Hence, it cannot be agitated by matter. Thus, it is more tolerant than the tree. Dear devotees, the jiva in its purest state of existence is automatically tṛṇād sunīcena, is automatically taror sahiṣṇunā, is automatically amāninā mānadena, and automatically renders kīrtanīyaḥ sadā hariḥ. And this is the same thing that Shri Kanupriya Goswami had also said. After attaining the stage of bhav, the living entity automatically develops all the symptoms, tṛṇād sunīcena, etc. So the first two symptoms are here. In the remaining two, sarvam khalvidam brahma. Everything here is Brahman. The fully blossomed version is amāninā mānadena, that the devotees see Brahman, Vasudeva everywhere, and they give respect to one and all. And the final Mahavakya, Prajnanam Brahma, Brahman is pure knowledge. The fully developed version of that is Kīrtanīyaḥ sadā hariḥ. Kirtan is Brahma, the supreme truth, and is non-different from Hari. Performing Kirtan is the purest, highest variety of knowledge, and it is non-different from Brahma, that is Hari. Prajnanam Brahma. Shri Krishna Sankirtanam is Bhagavan himself. In this way, dear devotees, this is the unique interpretation of Shri Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj, a very faithful and learned disciple of Shri Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. And Shri Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj was the sannyas guru of Srila Prabhupada. So in this way, a wonderful family of God brothers and devotees connected to each other, and a wonderful, unique interpretation of the tṛṇād sunīcena verse. Now, dear devotees, let's go back to the de facto meaning because this is a very creative take on tṛṇād sunīcena. Let's be very honest. This is a very creative take on tṛṇād sunīcena. We have to go back to the de facto meaning. The de facto meaning, dear devotees, is that when a person develops the stage of bhava bhakti, prema bhakti, automatically the individual develops symptoms of bhava bhakti, tṛṇād sunīcena, taror sahiṣṇunā, amāninā, mānadena, and then automatically kīrtanīyaḥ, sadā hariḥ. It's a very organic development in the spiritual journey of the living entity. However, before the living entity comes to the stage of bhava and prema, the living entity has to undergo anartha nivritti. And sometimes Bhagavan is very kind that during the stages of anartha nivritti, Bhagavan helps the sadhaka become tṛṇād sunīcena, taror sahiṣṇunā, amāninā, mānadena, by giving some negative reactions in the life of the sadhaka. Dear devotees, if you have suffered in material life, if you have seen that suffering in connection with Bhagavan, dear devotees, you are very fortunate, because somebody who has seen suffering in material life is a person who is considered to be very fortunate, because such a person can easily come closer to Bhagavan. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, I'd like to ask you a very simple question. Prabhu, which person is in general more mature in the world? Somebody who has seen suffering or somebody who has seen no suffering?
Somebody who has seen suffering.
And Prabhu, let's say if we take you back to the days when you were not married, and think of yourself in those days, and then a question is to be asked to you. Prabhu, do you wish to have a life partner who is mature or immature? Please tell me.
Mature.
But Prabhu, a person becomes mature only after seeing something in life. And what is that?
Suffering.
So indirectly, you are agreeing that you want to have a life partner who has undergone a lot of suffering, or perhaps at least considerable suffering in the world, so that they become mature when they meet you. Isn't it so, Prabhu?
Yes.
Yes. So, Prabhu, and what about yourself? Would you like to see suffering yourself?
If I can learn without it, that would be nice.
Wow. So we treat ourselves with soft gloves, but we want our life partner to be very refined by the sufferings of the world before they meet us. Dear devotees, it's very important to understand that when suffering comes to us in this world, it happens due to a certain reason, and the devotee's mindset should be aligned in such a way that every wave of suffering ultimately becomes favorable. And this is a phrase which I heard in the in the writings of Shri Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, that every wave is favorable. Every wave is favorable. And even waves of suffering are turned into favorability by the devotees. The first step is to understand that suffering does not come by itself. There is a reason for it. In the Subhashit literature, it is specified. Yena yatraiva bhoktavyam sukham va dukkham eva va satatra badhva rajveva bala daivena niyate. Yena yatraiva bhoktavyam. Whenever and wherever a particular person has to experience sukham va, some happiness, dukhameva va, or some distress. Sa tatra badhva rajva eva bala daivena niyate. He or she is forcibly wound as if by a rope and brought into that situation by providence. And for this reason, dear devotees, the theory of why a particular living entity suffers and what is the reason behind the suffering of living entity. There are many people who have tried to give theories behind it. There are many people who have accused God of being unjust and cruel. Some have declared God to be dead because they are not able to give any reasoning or justification as to why so much suffering exists in this world, especially suffering that comes to people who are innocent, people who have done nothing in this particular life, nothing incorrect in this particular life. And the Vedantic approach to this is not to deny or trivialize the suffering. Of course, the suffering exists, and only a person who is going through that suffering knows what is the pain that they are going through. So, this is not a denial of somebody's pain. This is not a denial of the difficulty that somebody is going through. But this is a philosophical attempt to understand the why behind the suffering. And I'm going to get into detail on this one because unless we understand it from a detailed point of view, it will be difficult sometimes to convince ourselves. In the Yoga Sutras, Maharshi Patanjali is somebody who thousands and thousands of years after having left the planet is still ruling over the planet in the form of Ashtanga Yoga. You go to any part of the world and you will see somewhere a yoga studio. And wherever you see a yoga studio, dear devotees, remember the personality behind transforming the lives of millions and millions of people around this planet is none other than the incarnation of Anantashesh, Shri Patanjali Muni, who gave Yoga Sutras. In the Yoga Sutras, Maharshi Patanjali says, Sati mule tad vipako jati ayurbhogaha. He says karma produces final effects in three ways. And what are the three ways in which karma produces final effects? First, he says jati, birth. And birth means the set of parents, the family, the community, the country that we are going to take birth in, the species of life that we are going to take birth in. So, the first result, the first effect of karma that is fructifying comes in the form of birth. And second, he says ayuhu, the lifespan that a person undergoes also is determined according to previous karma. Dear devotees, recently the government started printing big warning signs on cigarette packets. There is a rule here in India that at least a certain percentage, 40 or 50% of the packet must be full of warning against smoking cigarettes. But if you go 40 or 50 years ago, they used to have these old style cigarettes, BDs, which had no warning absolutely, and which were equally toxic and carcinogenic. And I saw many people who used to smoke many BDs, many of these old style cigarettes, and they would survive till 80 or 90 years of age. And then we have also seen people who apparently don't smoke at all and who pass away at a very young age. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, haven't we seen this inconsistency in the lives of people?
Yes.
Yes, we have seen this inconsistency. It's not that everybody who smokes is going to die early. It's not that everybody who drinks is going to have a failed liver. Dear devotees, lifespan is determined mainly by previous karma. Of course, lifespan is also affected by current karma, but it is mainly determined by previous karma. And the third effect produced by previous karma is positive or negative experiences, bhoga, that we see in this world. So there are three things, dear devotees, which Maharshi Patanjali says are produced by previous karma. Jati, Ayu, Bhog. Jati is the birth, the species, the family, the community, the country, the race in which we are born. Jati. Second is Ayu, the lifespan. And third is Bhog, the positive or negative experiences that we are going to have in life. And then Maharshi Patanjali says, Tehlad paritapa phalaha punya punya hetutvat. Virtuous, punya, and vicious, apunya acts committed in previous human birth results in joy and suffering respectively in this life. This is the clear siddhanta of all the rishis belonging to the Vedic tradition. And dear devotees, this is the most logical siddhanta which is nyayapurna, full of justice within this world. And I'm not only going to stop here at the explanation of Maharshi Patanjali. We will dive deeper into it because there are people who say that, God is either God doesn't exist or if he exists, he's very cruel. And those who take shelter of the theory of karma are just escapists who are trying to put the blame on some entity which does not exist. Dear devotees, in this way, there are many accusations on the theory of karma, but we will try to address all of these from the words of the previous acharyas. So Patanjali Muni says, Te hlad paritapa phala punya punya hetutvat. The acts committed in previous human births, and we have had infinite previous human births. They are resulting in joy and suffering respectively in this particular birth. Dear devotees, you will see somebody working very hard every day, but earning very little. On the other hand, you will see a person working very negligibly, yet earning so much that they are able to feed entire generations. There is great dissimilarity, inequality seen in the happiness and suffering in this world. Of this, there is no doubt. And the sages have pointed out the reason. Śrī-Caitanya Mahāprabhu also confirms in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Swakarma phala bhukpuman. A person experiences the results of his own karma. This is the same thing that Maharshi Patanjali was saying. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also confirms. Now, dear devotees, often when devotees are told that you are suffering because of previous karma, some of them say that you are being very insensitive. You should never say like this, that you are suffering due to previous karma. And I agree. We should never tell somebody else, especially somebody who is not willing to listen to us so easily, that they are suffering the results of their previous karma. But if such suffering is coming to us, we should think for our own self. If we are a mature devotee who understands the Siddhanta, we should think for our own selves that this is certainly the result of some previous negative karma. This is not something to be told to others. This is something to be told to ourselves, especially when we are going through negative experiences. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, he speaks something in this regard, and this is quoted in the BVT purport to the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, can you kindly read what he says?
Often, those who give up the materialistic path and devote themselves to renunciation are attacked by impious persons. This analysis, however, is superficial, since the punishment is actually the cumulative result of one's past karma. Some renunciates show lack of tolerance when presented with the remnants of their previous sins, and thus are forced to enter again onto the path of impious life.
So, dear devotees, you will see that there are individuals who refuse to accept this. No, it can't be previous karma. And you will see that those individuals who refuse to accept or who refuse to come to terms with this, they are often the ones who are who face difficulties in advancing on the path of bhakti because of not being able to come to terms with suffering in the current life. It's one thing to rebel against it and say, I don't believe this. I don't accept that this is my previous karma. It is one thing to be a rebellious person and to declare, non-acceptance of the principle of karma. Finally, everybody has to advance spiritually. By rejecting the principle of karma, will it help in our advancement? Will it help in coming to terms with our suffering? When we reject the theory of karma, essentially what we are doing is as follows. We are saying, I am not responsible for this suffering. This other person is responsible. And hence, if this other person suffers, then justice will be done. Dear devotees, this is all that is being done by people, those who reject the theory of karma. They say, I am not responsible for my suffering. This other person is responsible, and let this other person suffer. Now, this other person will also say, I am not responsible for giving you suffering. I am responsible, I am guided by my previous tendencies. I was guided by my previous tendencies. So, dear devotees, in this way, the blame, we will keep passing the buck from one person to another person and no solution will come. So, dear devotees, in this way, what will happen is we will not be able to find a philosophical solution, and advancement on the path of spirituality will become very difficult. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada continues. Prabhu, kindly read.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore instructs that one should become as tolerant as a tree. If a neophyte on the path of devotional service to the Lord's pure devotees is attacked by envious persons, he must accept it as a consequence of his previous fruitive actions. One should be intelligent and avoid future unhappiness by rejecting the ethic of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. If one refuses to enter into enmity with envious men, they will automatically leave him alone.
So, in the purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 11:23-5, these words of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada are quoted. Now, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada also is saying, I have highlighted here in bold, he must accept it as a consequence of his previous fruitive activities. Now, this is for our own acceptance. We may not tell others when they are suffering that, oh, you're suffering because of your karma, because they may feel that this is inconsiderate. But especially when we are ourselves suffering, gradually we should come to the point of acceptance sooner or later that this could not have happened with me unless there was a seed in the past. And constant refusal to accept this will lead to a big stumbling block on the path of progress. And you can see all the examples of devotees in the Srimad Bhagavatam who underwent suffering, and you can see the attitudes that they displayed towards that suffering. And it is the same attitude which helped them progress on the path of bhajan, on the path of bhakti. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan gets into a very detailed analysis of this. And dear devotees, I would really love to explain this from the Govinda Bhashyam of Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan. This is the 10th Adhikaran, the 10th topic within Govinda Bhashya. It is called Vaishamya Nairgrinya Adhikaranam, the section dealing with allegations of cruelty and partiality in relation to Bhagavan. And here is the objection. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, kindly read the objection.
The theory that Bhagavan created this world is open to the objection that he is either cruel or partial, since he gives devatas and men, some of whom enjoy happiness while others suffer acute misery. This theory is therefore not a congruous one. However, Vedic texts say that Bhagavan is neither partial nor cruel. How so?
So this is the objection, because many people, they see the immediate suffering or happiness of men, and they conclude that Bhagavan has not created the world in a just manner, because some people are enjoying tremendously with minimum effort. Some people are suffering acutely despite putting their best efforts in the world. How is Bhagavan not partial? How is Bhagavan not cruel? In reply to this, the Adhikaran, the 10th Adhikaran, says in Vedanta Sutra, this is the direct sutra from Vedanta Sutra. Vaishamya nairgrinyena sapekshatva tatha hi darshayati. There exists no partiality as well as cruelty in Bhagavan, because the pleasure and pain experienced by living entities has regards to their previous karmas, and so also the scriptures declare. Tatha hi darshayati. So also the Shastra declares. This is Vedanta Sutra 2.134. In Govinda Bhashyam, Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan starts explaining. In Bhagavan as creator, there exists no fault of partiality or cruelty. The differences of condition in which creatures are born, the devotees jati, ayu, the differences of condition, and bhoga, the pleasure pain they experience, depends on their own past karmas. Bhagavan creates the environment in which the creatures are placed with strictest regard to such previous karma. Strictest regard to such previous karma. The proof of this is Shastra itself. Kaushitaki Brahmana Upanishad says, Esha uhyevainam sadhu karma karayati tam yamebhyo lokebhya unninishate. Esha u eva sadhu karma karayati yam adhoninishate. Bhagavan engages the living entity in pious activities so that he may be elevated, and he engages him in impious activities so that he may go to lower species. Then this makes Bhagavan cruel and partial. In this way, jivas become devatas or residents of hell by the will of Bhagavan. But Bhagavan is not cruel or partial, because this will of Bhagavan always has regard to the previous karma of that jiva. So according to the previous karma of the jiva, Bhagavan inspires a particular jiva in a particular direction. I always give this example so that we can understand, because some people say then the jivas will not have any freedom then, if Bhagavan is the one constantly guiding them. So I always give this example as to where is the free will of the jiva. I'll tell you where is the free will of the jiva by giving a very simple example. Let's say there is a particular living entity who is tremendously addicted to smoking cigarettes. And because in previous lives also he has smoked cigarettes, so in this life also there is the natural inclination to smoke. And they have also cultivated the habit of smoking in this life. A person has cultivated that habit. Now, the next time a person is walking across the superstore or the gas pump, and on the gas pump, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, you can easily find something. What can you find on a gas pump?
Cigarettes?
Cigarettes, wonderful. So as soon as he walks to a gas pump, he can see advertisements of cigarettes and various packets of cigarettes put up on display. Now, Bhagavan within the heart is inspiring. Dear devotees, Bhagavan is inspiring. Smoke. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, why is Bhagavan inspiring him within the heart?
Because he's developed that tendency.
Because he's developed that tendency. And where is the free will of the living entity? The free will of the living entity is to reject Bhagavan's advice. No. Even though my previous inclinations are telling me I should smoke, but I don't wish to smoke today. I wish to stop smoking. There is the freedom of the living entity. In going against the previous tendencies, we have freedom. So, dear devotees, this is what This is where the free will of the jiva lies. Bhagwan inspires the living entities also in committing pious activities. Suppose a living entity is charitable since many births and has a habit of giving charity. In this birth also, that particular living entity will have thoughts of giving charity. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, where is the free will of the living entity in this birth?
The momentum of their past choices when they develop this tendency to give charity.
Yeah. So the free will is, in this life, the living entity can say, I don't want to give charity. Although Bhagwan in the heart is impelling, you must give charity. And the living entity is highly influenced by past karma, by past tendencies. The free will is still there to say, no, I don't want to do this. So whether good activities or bad activities, the free will is always there to go against one's cultivated tendencies from previous lives. This is where free will is present. So Bhagavan inspires the living entities according to the previous karma. Now, next sutra. Na karma vibhagaditi chen na anaditvat. Translation. There may be an objection that the theory of karma cannot explain the inequality and cruelty in this world. Because when the creation first started, there was no distinction of souls and hence no distinction of karmas. So Dāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, when creation took place, the living entities just came out fresh from Bhagavan. There was no distinction between the living entities and there was no distinction of karma. Isn't it so, Prabhu?
I was going to ask this question.
Oh, wonderful. See, the Vedanta Sutra is following your thought process and it is automatically answering. And Srila Baldev Vidya Bhushan, the sutra itself says, Chet na, no, anaditva. The objection, however, is not valid because there is no beginning of creation. Now, what does this mean? It means that the jivas in this creation are carrying some scars or tendencies from previous creation. The jivas in previous creation were carrying tendencies from the creation prior to that. And there is no beginning to creation. There is no beginning to the jivas. The jivas were never created and there was no beginning point of creation. Anaditvat, due to being beginningless. Therefore, there is no point of beginning for the conditioned living entities, for the karmas, and therefore such an objection does not hold. Now, there may be many questions in this. Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan starts answering in his Govinda Bhashyam. An objector may say that the theory of karma only pushes the difficulty one step back. I am suffering or enjoying because I've committed good karma or bad karma in previous life, which just pushed it one step back. No doubt, this theory explains to some extent the inequalities and sufferings of jivas in their present life, and these may be results of acts done in past human lives. However, in the beginning of creation, there were no jivas nor were there acts. So, if all jivas were created equal, there is no reason to assume that their acts were different. The sutra replies by saying that the objection is not correct since creation is beginningless. The jivas and their karma are both beginningless, and thus there is no fault because every subsequent karma is motivated by the tendencies generated by past karmas. The Bhavishya Puran confirms Punya papadikam Vishnu karayet purva karmana anaditvat karmanascha na virodha kathanchana. Vishnu makes the jivas carry out good or bad deeds according to tendencies from past karmas. In this theory, there is no fault since karmas have no beginning. Then he continues. If someone objects that this theory of beginningless creation is tainted with the fault of infinite regression, nowadays in the modern world, there are logical fallacies that, infinite regression is one of the modern logical faults. He said, then we reply that it is not so. Infinite regression is seen in this world in many places too. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, Does the seed come first or the tree?
There's no answer to that
There's
question.
no. So, isn't infinite regress seen in this world in practical day-to-day life?
Yes.
Yes, it is seen. So, in this way, in certain concepts, in certain entities, you have to accept infinite regress. You can't just set aside the problem by saying it is infinite regress. Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan says, well, someone else may object. If Bhagwan is bound to create according to previous karma, Bhagwan loses his independence. Because if Bhagwan is also bound to give a person fruit according to previous karma, then Bhagwan is also bound by a rule that he has to give happiness or suffering according to previous karma. Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan answers by saying he is certainly independent. He can break the laws of karma at any point of time, but he is not whimsical. He is not going to do it whimsically. Therefore, in most cases, Bhagwan does not break the eternal law of karma. He says, now, Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan takes the other side. He says, let's say, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, if Bhagwan would have created the world by disregarding previous karma, think about such a world, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu. If Bhagwan creates a world where he disregards the previous karma, let's say in this life somebody commits a murder and doesn't get punished. In next life, there is no reaction. And in any future life, there is no reaction. Would you like to be part of such a world?
No.
Why?
That's one of the most fundamental human desires, that there will be justice.
So, in actuality, those who reject the theory of karma are taking sides with this side, this particular logic, that there is actually no reaction to past karma. And therefore, you know, if Bhagwan does this, then he might prove his omnipotence to certain people, but to the majority of the world, Bhagwan's actions will become unpredictable and cruel. And therefore, Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan says, Bhagwan can perfectly override previous karma, but he creates the universe with perfect regard to the previous karma of the jivas. So he also says that Bhagwan is independent, so he could have created the world with disregard to the previous karmas, as he was previously saying. Bhagwan could have made such a chaotic world where he doesn't regard the previous karma. But then his actions, instead of being regulated by any law, then the whole universe would be lawless. And then it would not be a favorable attribute of Bhagwan. Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu, would you want a Bhagavan who has created a lawless world? Or do you want a Bhagavan who has created a world which is strictly in regulation of law? How do you want? Which Bhagavan do you want?
Rule of law, Bhagavan.
Wonderful. So, each and every living entity wants this. We want a Bhagavan who has created a world which is having a just, lawful system in which good or bad reactions are given according to the previous tendencies, previous karma of a living entity. And wonderful, this is how the world actually exists today. This is how it exists today. There is absolutely no deviance from the principle of karma. And the Shastras declare it very boldly. Thus, the theory of karma does not detract Bhagavan from his omnipotence. Rather, it shows his great compassion and wisdom in matters of creation. And dear devotees, if any of us today is undergoing a negative reaction, if any of us is being forced by our own previous karma to be tṛṇād sunīcena, taror sahiṣṇunā, if we have been put in a position of suffering, and those who are suffering will know it is such a position that you cannot come out by any means whatsoever. We have tried everything to come out of that suffering, but somehow or other, we are unable to come out of it. It may be suffering caused by a parent. Children cannot usually reject their parents in their childhood. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, is it possible for a little child to reject an abusive parent easily?
Not at all.
Not at all. It may become impossible for us, despite our best efforts, to avoid that suffering. If it is possible to avoid, we will naturally avoid it. But sometimes, despite all our efforts, we are unable to avoid such suffering. Sometimes such suffering comes from immediate relatives. Sometimes such suffering comes from one's children. Sometimes such suffering comes from one's spouse, one's life partner. And there are many reasons why we are not able to avoid that suffering. Sometimes such suffering comes from the government. People who wish to evade tax, they run away. Eventually, the government catches them. And then Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, is there any way of running away from the suffering?
Death. But that's just another suffering. So no, there's not.
No, there's no way of escaping that suffering. So, dear devotees, if any of us has been put in that situation where despite our best efforts, there is no escaping suffering, then please know that this can be taken as a great opportunity to understand and further come closer to Bhagavan and to naturally develop the quality of tṛṇād api sunīcena, taror api sahiṣṇunā, amāninā, mānadena, kīrtanīyaḥ, sadā, hariḥ. I will dive into this in greater detail in the next session, and hopefully the next session will be the final session of this particular verse of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit vidvam saha purayantu tat. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit tad guroreva me nahi. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit. If there's any mistake in what I said, vidvam saha, all learned people, purayantu tat, please correct it. But yadatra saushthavam kinchit, whatever was nice, tad guroreva, it belongs to my gurujanas. Me nahi, it doesn't belong to me. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Thank you, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल, हरे कृष्ण.
Hari Hari Bo. Thank you so much, dear Hari Prabhu, for a fascinating and very rich class. Just like Krishna is ever new, also your classes are ever fresh and new and inspiring. So thank you so much. We're going to go now to questions and answers. But first, if you're listening online and you would like to join our live sessions, please just send an email to the email address shown on the screen, exactly as it's spelled, siksastakam.hpd@gmail.com, and include your WhatsApp number and country code. We will add you to our WhatsApp group, and then you can get links to join our live Zoom calls. For our questions and answers, we kindly ask you, just like we do every week, over and over, because it's important, please only ask questions related to today's class. Keep your questions short. We especially appreciate if you just ask one question and then get back in line if you have more. And please, no questions about any particular person or institution. These classes are informal and not affiliated with any institution. And therefore, please keep it informal. Anything else, Prabhuji?
No, this is very good. Let's keep it informal and let's begin, Prabhu.
Thank you so much. Our first question is from Rasika Ananda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Sada Pranam. Thank you so much for such a nectarian class. Prabhuji, actually recently been going through this particular topic of suffering. Actually, I did a recent podcast regarding the Vedic perspective of suffering. So got a lot of questions from the Abrahamic sect followers regarding this. That Prabhuji, that uh, our concept is of reincarnation and of past life, that all the sufferings which are there are from the past life karmas. But there must be some first life. The question was coming that there must be some first life. But Prabhuji, if when we give a reply, so in our understanding, there are Nitya Siddha Jivas and Nitya Baddha Jivas. So the question coming in my mind was, Prabhuji, that in the very initial time, or if it was a beginningless creation, then why Krishna made some jivas as Nitya Siddhas and some as Nitya Baddhas?
Why did Krishna make some jivas as Nitya? Krishna did not make any jivas. When did Krishna create a jiva?
The jiva is beginningless, Prabhuji.
So then there was no creation. The question does not hold. I hope the acharyas have taken care of everything when they say that the creation is beginningless. The jivas were never created. Eternally, there are two types of jivas: those who are Nitya Baddhas, those who are Nitya Siddhas. Question arises, why are there two eternal categories? Sri Jiva Goswami
Yes,
in the Bhagavad Sandarbha says there are two eternal categories. I will take you to the Bhagavad Sandarbha of Sri Jiva Goswami and I will show you, not Bhagavad Sandarbha, sorry, Paramatma Sandarbha of Sri Jiva Goswami. And in Paramatma Sandarbha, Sri Jiva Goswami tries to answer this question. I am showing you the Paramatma Sandarbha of Sri Jiva Goswami, and let me point out to you the 47th Anuched, and I am sharing the screen so that you can see the Paramatma Sandarbha. This is Anuched number 47. And Sri Jiva Goswami says, Tad evam ananta eva jivakhyas. Infinite are the jivas. Infinite. This very statement has a very important implication, because there are some schools in India who say if ultimately all jivas will get liberated, and since there is no beginning to creation, by this time everybody should have become liberated. Isn't it? So answer is Ananta eva jivakya. Infinite are the jivas. And therefore, the material world will always have these infinite of jivas, and the spiritual world also will have infinite jivas. In this way, the material world is non-ending, and the transition of jivas from material to the spiritual world is also non-ending. And they are also known as Tatastha Shakti. Jiva is also known as Tatastha Shakti. Tatra tasam vargadvayam. And there are two categories. What are the two categories? Eko vargo, first category, anadita eva bhagavad unmukha. From beginningless time, they are inclined to Bhagavan. Anyastu, second category, anadita eva bhagavad parangmukha. From beginningless time, they are disinclined to Bhagavan. Now, the question arises, why? That is where we were. That is how we came here. Why? He says the reason is swabhavatas tadiya jnana bhavat tadiya jnana abhavacha. Because the first category, the Nitya Siddhas, have natural knowledge and towards of Bhagavan, and the second category has natural ignorance of Bhagavan. And the question arises, you have just pushed it one step behind. You just pushed the problem one step behind. Now you can also ask a why to this. Why did one category of living entities have eternal knowledge of Bhagavan, and why did another category of living entities have eternal ignorance of Bhagavan? Now, because the question is related to Anadikal, eternity, therefore you can only keep pushing one step after another. You can never reach the original reasoning. So therefore, at least Sri Jiva Goswami pushed it behind one level by saying that one category of jivas has eternal knowledge of Bhagavan, another category of jivas have eternal ignorance. Now you can keep asking why. And then if I give a reason to that why, then you will all again ask a why to that. Why is that? And then we keep pushing it back till infinity. And therefore, this is where it enters into the domain of achintya. This is what is achintya about the living entities. And that this is the reason why achintya is a very important part of our philosophy. That this is where infinite regress occurs, achintya is the only way to understand it. I hope you're able to understand. All right?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Next we have Ajay Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hari Parshad Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you so
Pranams.
much for this wonderful session and this relationship to the four Mahavakyas and this karma and birth and everything. Thank you so much for this wonderful interpretation. My question is from the commentary of, I forgot the name, I'm sorry, Bhakti Vaman Goswami Maharaj, I think.
Yeah, Sri Bhakti Vedant Vaman
Yeah.
Goswami Maharaj. Yes.
Yes, Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj. So in the third Mahavakya, he said that amāninā mānadena is the blossomed version of the Sarvakala Vidam Brahma, right? So the reason that you gave that the devotees see Vasudev everywhere and give respect to one and all. So my question is, it comes in Mānadena that he gives respect to one and all because he sees Vasudev in everyone. But my question is that he is also Brahman, so there's Vasudev in him too. So why? So if he does not deserve expect respect from others, would that not be considered as a disrespect to the Vasudev inside him?
No, he does not expect any respect for himself. He doesn't expect any disrespect, but neither does he expect any special respect. That is what is amāninā, isn't it?
Yeah, but it keeps going in my head that he is also part of the Brahman, so everyone would eventually respect him as well.
Of course, they will respect him, but it is not his expectation that people should respect me as someone special, because just as Vasudev is present in everybody's heart, Vasudev is also present in my heart. But the Vasudev which is present in everybody else's hearts, I am able to see. I am also able to see Vasudev present in my heart. I offer pranams to Vasudev within my heart also. But I also offer pranams to the infinite Vasudevs that are present in the hearts of the infinite living entities. And if somebody does not, especially this is about living entities who are conditioned. If a conditioned living entity does not offer him respect, will such a person feel offended? Answer is no, certainly not. Because that living entity may not be able to see Vasudev in my heart, but I am able to see Vasudev in their heart. So such a person also understands the reason why somebody is not offering them respect. So doesn't expect any respect. If some respect comes on its own, wonderful. Doesn't come on its own, still no problem. Amāninā doesn't expect any specific respect from others, but certainly gives respect to everybody due to seeing Vasudev's presence in their hearts. So I hope this sheds further light on the interpretation.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
also have questions related to the karma slide, but I'll wait in the order.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. I have a question, Prabhuji.
Sure.
Suppose there's two devotees and both of them are caused suffering, apparently inflicted on them by others. Devotee A says, due to my past karma, I am suffering. They just happen to be the instrument. Devotee B says, because of what this person has done, they will suffer in their next life. What's the difference in how these both conceptions could be said to be true by the law of karma, but what's the practical effect on the devotee, whether he's taking up mindset A or B? And what would you say to the person B?
All right. So there are two devotees who are suffering, devotee A, and both devotees try to avoid that suffering. The first step is to avoid suffering. There is a definition of dukkha, suffering, given in the Yoga Shastras. It is said, dukkham svato dveshyam. Dukkha is that which everybody wants to avoid on the first step. The first tendency is to avoid it. Dukkham svato dveshyam. So both try to avoid their respective suffering, but despite their best efforts, some suffering still came through. And now they have to make sense of it. First devotee says, well, I tried all the means, but still this suffering was there. It was destined because it was part of my previous activities. He has come to terms with his suffering, because despite his best efforts, there was some reaction he could not avoid. Initially, he must have felt shock, disbelief. Why is this happening to me? Then there are 5 stages of grief. And then the final 5th stage of grief is that you finally accept it has happened. And then Shastra gives the reasoning for it, why it happened. So this devotee has come to that final stage. It has happened because there is some seed in my previous human lives. All right. The second devotee says, all this has happened, but the person who has perpetrated it, that person will suffer. Certainly, that person will suffer. Even in your case, the person who caused you suffering will suffer. Even in my case, the person who caused me suffering will suffer. Now, this shows a mindset which is having the tendency of exacting some revenge, that I want this person to suffer. Now, what will happen with this other devotee is this other devotee will keep waiting, perhaps. When will this person suffer? When will this person suffer? And perhaps that suffering may not come in the life of that perpetrator immediately. So to constantly keep waiting that this other person should suffer in front of my eyes, so that, I see divine retribution in front of my eyes, so that I come to know that the universe is a just place. This expectation is what will keep him forever expecting divine retribution. And then he may be disappointed because that retribution may not come in this lifetime. So the other devotees essentially may be heading for a disappointment because of trying to wait too long. So that is the answer to the query.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Next we have Nilachala Chandrika Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, and Pranam. I wanted to ask, as you said, suffering makes the devotee come closer to Bhagavan. But sometimes we see in life that suffering, too much suffering, makes those people away from Bhagavan. They
Right.
say they just lose faith, and they said he's not doing anything. Maybe in a way they are denying that the law of karma. But at the same time, we see they are driven away from Bhagavan rather than
Yeah.
coming close.
Yes.
So can we understand this?
How can we understand this? Wonderful. Spiritualists are on different levels of maturity in their lives. The actual spiritualist who is fixed on the path of life is given in the Bhagavad Gita. And I will quote this verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Here it is. I am sharing my screen, Mataji. So kindly read the highlighted section. Can you read the Sanskrit of the highlighted section, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yasmin sthito na dukkheshu
Dukkhena.
gurunapi vichalyate.
Yasmin sthito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. Translation is here. Okay. Yes, this is the one, Mataji. Please read.
Can you just put a little high, because I can see the lower hand, or maybe I should lower my hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of the greatest difficulty.
But Mataji, if somebody becomes shaken in position of difficulty, it automatically means that they are yet to be situated in the fixed position of transcendental life. It happens often with individuals. Dukkhena gurunapi. Bhagavan says that the biggest suffering also comes to them. Na vichalyate. They don't become shaken in life. But to develop that attitude is not every sadhaka's capability. Because to become a mature sadhaka is not the practice of a single lifetime. Sometimes a sadhaka becomes dejected and gives up the path. And this may be one of the reasons why a sadhaka gives up the path. And what you said, this is what happens with many, many sadhakas due to not being able to make sense of one's suffering. Why did this happen to me? I was such a nice devotee. I did so much seva for Bhagavan. And what did Bhagavan give me in return? Only deceit and lies and cheating and fraud and everything negative in my life. I don't wish to serve such a Bhagavan. So, uh, we are not looking at the previous accounts. We are just looking at the account of this particular life, and making judgments according to the account of this particular life is not justified judgment. And therefore, the devotee will have to further mature so that they become situated in this level of spirituality where one is never shaken even in the midst of greatest difficulty. If you take this principle to its highest um, application, you will see the highest application in the case of Jad Bharat, who was taken by the dacoits in front of Bhadrakali, and they wanted to slaughter him. And Jad Bharat is, even in the midst of the greatest difficulty, he is not shaken. He happily agrees to go with them. Of course, Bhadrakali has some other plans. She cannot let such a devotee suffer. So, but Jad Bharat was prepared to give up his life. Why? Because Jad Bharat knew one thing. Very nicely, Sri Jad Bharat knew one thing. It is only by the sanction of Bhagavan that I will be killed, not otherwise. If I am to be killed today, it will only be by the sanction of Bhagavan, nobody else. So, if Bhagavan wants to kill, and that dukkha has to come today, I'm ready. That is Jad Bharat. And therefore, it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Jad Bharat's path is like the path of an eagle, and other spiritualist paths is like the path of a housefly. So an eagle flies in a very straight line, and houseflies are not able to fly like that. So that's the difference between the behavior of Sri Jad Bharat and the behavior of many other transcendentalists. It takes some time, and sometimes it takes some lifetimes. But that's a bitter pill to swallow. Bitter pill to swallow. That it will not happen in this life. But it is nonetheless a bitter pill rooted in reality, because Bhagwan himself has said to many sadhakas, sorry, not in this life. To Narad Muni, in his previous life, he said, sorry, not in this life. Maybe for some sadhakas, it is not in this life. And that may be one of the reasons why they go away from bhakti. Whatever piety they have accumulated, devotional piety, Bhagwan will ensure that he reciprocates with that devotional piety. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very nice. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. I like the fly and the eagle one.
Next we have Parima. Is that Mataji? Parima. Next we have Parima.
Parima Mataji. Yeah.
Yes.
Parima Mataji.
Thanks, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your very eye-opening class, Prabhuji. I have this question that I had faced many years ago when I was in my teens, and from my Jain friends actually. Whenever I would, do my deity worship and talk about Krishna or anything, they would say that, we believe that everything is a vicious cycle of karma with austerity, but that they perform. Of course, I don't know. They said that we get over with the karma and we attend Kaivalya Gnan. Why are you doing this worship? So this kind of theory gives rise to this thought process. How do you answer this question?
So, so the theory of karma gives rise to the thought process that you perform austerities and get out of the world. So what is the question, Mataji?
The question is, Prabhuji, they say that why do you have to even do this worship, bhakti, all these things? Because ultimately it is all karma only.
No,
God also will give you the result of your karma only. Then why are you worshipping God? That is what they ask, to
no,
be
no.
precise.
Bhakti yoga is one of the authentic bona fide paths of yoga, which has been specified not only in the Vedas, also in the Itihasa, also in the Puranas. Also, those who are followers of the path of Jainism, they also display so much bhakti towards their traditional deities and tirthankars. So, why they also perform so much worship, reverence of their own, the teachers of their lineage. So they also have display tendencies of bhakti towards their masters. So they should, there is no reason for to raise objections against Bhakti Yoga, because Bhakti Yoga is a system rooted in tradition and it gives the same result as Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. It gives even higher result than Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. So due to Bhakti Yoga being rooted in Shastra, approved in Shastra, and due to it having worked for many individuals in the past, it is a valid system of spirituality. So that is the answer to the query.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank you.
Prabhuji. 100 Krishna. Danvat pranams.
My pranams.
Next we have Dindor Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanvat Pranam for wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Yes. Prabhuji, my question is that you said that Jiva's previous tendencies depends impious and pious activities and they are bound by their previous karmas. So then when we preach to certain Jiva, so what depends, Prabhu? The previous tendencies depends or the preaching of the person depends or the Shri Bhagwan's mercy depends that that person would take bhakti or take book when we distribute.
When a particular jiva is being introduced to bhakti, the
Yes.
introduction to bhakti does not fall under the law of karma. Bhakti is essentially a vritti, a function of the Swarup Shakti of Bhagwan. Bhakti has nothing to do with the theory of karma in the material world. Bhakti, in fact, is that lady, that wonderful lady who can interfere with karma and who can cut down the previous karma of the living entity. And therefore, when a living entity is being introduced to Bhakti Devi, that transcendental radical factor is being introduced, which is not a part of the material world. Therefore, that act of inculcating Shraddha in a newcomer itself is not a material act, and therefore it is supramundane, it is transcendental to the theory of karma. But the interference with that living entity's karma begins as soon as that living entity begins walking on the path of Bhakti Yoga. So that is the answer to the query.
Did I already call on Ajay Krishna Prabhu?
No, yes, once we have.
I thought so. Okay, next we have Bhavya Bhagavan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes.
Prabhuji, don't know. Prabhuji, I have a question, Prabhuji. Astrology is such a wonderful science. So through astrology, we can understand that if we have cheated somebody, and that somebody, if he has that mentality of taking revenge, he might come into our lives and take a revenge in this life, right? So, Prabhuji, in this life, if they take revenge, so does that person is not getting implicated in further karma, Prabhuji? So,
Of
and
course.
then this cycle keeps on going.
Yeah, of course, they are getting implicated in karma, and that is one way in which karma keeps propagating. That is why it is a cycle. Gahana karmano gatihi. Of course. And mostly next time I will also show the astrological connection of karma and how planets align within the chart. I will also try to show one or two slides on that you can understand from the time of your birth, place of your birth, what sort of a karma is already destined for you, and those effects are seen in life. Those effects are seen directly in life. That Jyotish is that accurate of a science. So definitely, karma keeps propagating because one person commits a new act, another person is receiving the reaction. So that is how karma works. And it has to work that way because human species is the only species in which new karma is generated. So at least in human species, it works that way. In all other species, they are simply exhausting karma. So in human species, it gets propagated in that manner. So I hope that answers your query.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Roji. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna.
Next we have Purushottama Prasad Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. We are indebted for you, Prabhu, for revealing all these intricacies of Shastras in a simple manner and make us to understand. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. That the beautifully you presented that infinite regression. So the karma is applicable, infinite regression. But Krishna also gave us the clue in 4th chapter. You know, you also said just now, karmana, what is that verse? Gahana karmano gatihi. Yeah, gahana karmano gatihi. Yeah. But Lord also says that karmanohi api bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha. Right? But yes, he suggested us akarmanascha bodhavyam. And he also give the clue, namam lipyanti, namam karmani lipyanti, name karma pada sprisha. Itimam yo abhijanati. So he gave the clue there. That person who follow this, for him, the karma will not affect. So at what, my question is, I'm giving the pre-context so that my question can be understandable in that context. So at what stage the Jivatma is able to terminate the karma? That is no more namam lipyanti in that context when Lord says.
A very, very simple answer to that is that as soon as the Jiva develops that quality, na me karma phala spriha, that the Jiva does not desire any results from that particular karma. Beautiful. And that particular time, the living entity stops receiving the reactions to any particular karma. As soon as rag and dvesh, attachment and repulsion,
duality, okay, yes,
ceases to exist, the living entity stops. I will give a very simple answer. There are two people fighting on the street, but we are not involved. Will that karma implicate us?
Certainly.
No, there are two people fighting on the street. We are watching. And we are not getting involved in it. Will any karma come to us?
For my understanding, if it's adharma is going on, if I am not stopping, definitely karma comes.
No. It's just you are not able to know the topic, nothing. You just see them shouting at each other.
Okay, yes. Then it's not relevant to us. Yes.
It's not relevant to us.
Yes.
We don't take particular sides. It just pass by. Similarly, a person who passes by in life without getting attached or to any particular result, to him that karma phala never comes.
Beautiful. So this stage will attain by at the stage of bhava or beyond that?
Yeah, at the stage of bhava and beyond that, definitely it will be attained.
Thanks definitely. A lot. Thanks a lot. Beautiful. Amazing.
Next we have Yadupati Hari Prabhu. I think he might be frozen. We'll come back to you, Prabhuji, if you can hear us. Next we have Sangam Sanjal.
Hare Krishna, Hari Prabhuji, Dhanna Pranam.
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
And I'm very happy to be here now. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. So, my question is, it may sound silly. Like, if I go to road and cause pain to someone, maybe I slapped some random person. So does that mean the person who got slapped had previous bad karma, or can it be like there was no previous karma, but I just created now new karma? Like that's the question.
So, first and foremost, this is a very hypothetical question. Suppose I went on the street and I randomly slapped somebody. So was it his previous karma to do like that? So the first thing is, even if when we commit such random acts of foolishness, in the stockpile of every living entity, there is previous negative karma and previous positive karma. You give the example of a negative karma. Let's take some other example. Let's say you walked on the street and you randomly gave somebody $100. That example should have been given. So it's a positive example. You walked up to somebody on the street and you randomly gave somebody $100. So was it their positive karma to receive $100 from you? So the answer is usually, there is a good amount of stock of positive and negative karma from previous human lives. If any sudden event occurs, so a certain amount of positive karma or negative karma is removed from that particular stock, and they have received that reaction. So they will not have to face that karma in the future. This is the answer given by, the previous authorities. So on some occasions, a sudden event may cause other karmas to get suppressed and one karma may become prominent. So that happens sometimes. But in such sudden events, previous stock, you take it from the previous stock and exhaust that karma. That is what takes place here. So I hope that answers your query. All right. Thank you.
Next we have Yadupati Hariprabhu.
Hare Krishna Bodhan Pranams. Am I audible, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for a wonderful class, bro. Prabhu, my doubt is like when so Jivatmas, they are covered by this Nitya Baddhas, they are covered by Anadya Vidya and also Karma. So if they have to turn to devotional path, they have to meet some sadhu, but some will meet Gyanis and some will meet some realization, some will end up in Bhagavan realization, and some will end up in Bhagavan realization also, like Goloka. So, but this it all depends on which sadhu he meets. Then, if we say that Krishna is the person who decides, then again some kind of bias is getting created, right?
No.
Because in some
no bias is getting created, because Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan says that this is adrishta. Adrishta means that the piety you have committed in previous lives, the spiritual devotional piety or the spiritual piety that you have committed in previous lives, which you cannot see today, is adrishta. Adrishta is unseen. And this adrishta is what eventually leads you to take a particular inclination. So that adrishta is piling up over many, many lifetimes. Many, many lifetimes. And then in one particular life, you get attached to a particular sadhu. This is specified by Srila Jiva Goswami in the beginning of his Bhakti Sandarbha. I will point out those verses. I think they are from the Brahma Vaivarta Puran. Yes, they are from the Brahma Vaivarta Puran. I am sharing my screen. Here it says, Aneka Janma Janita, many births you have accumulated. Punya Rashi Phalam. So the past devotional piety or past piety of serving particular types of sadhus, the result of that is satsanga. You get a particular type of satsanga. Shastra Shravanat, and then you hear that Shastra from them. Eva Premadi Jayate. Then you get your specific result. So, Aneka Janma Janita. It's not just some random occurrence. Some previous association also is taken into account. But previous association was not strong enough to get you to become a dedicated member of any particular Vedic path. So in this life, if you are attached to a particular Vedic path, that is because previous Bhakti Sukriti, which was not strong enough, it became strong enough in this life, strong enough to the point that you took up Bhakti in this particular life. So that is what has happened. And that is also what happens with other individuals who take to other Vedic paths. And in this way, the previous adrishta, unseen, is what is responsible mainly for people taking up this thing. Now, adrishta is not just the only determining factor. Sometimes Bhagwan may make an exception to this, and then Bhagwan may introduce a sadhu who changes your previous inclinations. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given that example in the Ragvartma Chandrika, I think, that sometimes a jiva may be inclined to one particular rasa, and then a sadhu may be a connoisseur of another rasa, and the sadhu, like an expert chef, by cooking nicely, changes the rasa, the food rasa. Similarly, a sadhu can also change the bhakti rasa from shantaras to dasya, sakya, vatsalya or madhurya. So that is, exceptions are also possible. So there are many smaller exceptions to the main rule. The main rule is adrishta determines, and smaller exceptions are always there. But I cannot discuss all the smaller exceptions in detail because only Bhagavan can tell what those exceptions are. So that is the answer to your query. Hare Krishna.
Next we have Leela Madhuri Prabhu.
Mataji, Prabhu?
It says Dāsa.
Okay.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, pranams.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, when I was hearing about karma in your presentation, I was thinking of the quality of gratitude. If one thinks like everything anyway is any favorable thing that is happening or any happiness that is coming, it is because of our karma, then one may lose that feeling of gratitude. So how to understand it?
Like
it may appear superficial also. But
Nice.
anyway, it's happening because of my karma. So the reciprocation of gratitude may appear superficial also. How can we?
Prabhu, there are some dukkha's, there are some sufferings in life which will really make you reconsider your entire worldview. And I'm not speaking about the small sufferings. I'm speaking about sufferings that change your entire worldview. I'm speaking about sufferings that break a person completely and turn them into another person. That is the sort of suffering which, if a devotee is able to handle gracefully, that sort of maturity will certainly make that devotee eligible for liberation. So, and after having experienced that, a devotee at every step will understand that it was very important for me to go through suffering, that particular suffering, in order to today be who I am. If I would have not gone through that suffering, today I would not be in this particular place. When that realization dawns upon the devotee, at that point of time, the devotee becomes grateful towards Bhagavan. So I would like to ask you a very specific question, Leela Madhuri Prabhu. You don't have to give me the details, but is there some specific suffering in life for which you are thankful that without this suffering, I could not have become what I am today? Is there any such suffering you have seen in life?
Yes,
Yes.
certain
Yeah. So
things that have happened. Yeah,
yes.
right.
So you have seen certain sufferings which have happened in your life, which have made you today what you are. Prabhu, were those sufferings necessary or not?
Yes.
So Prabhu, aren't you thankful that Bhagwan introduced those experiences in your life?
Yes. Actually, in my question, the focus was on favorable or happy things. Like usually, if someone does something for us, say a favor, we say thank you, or we would want to feel grateful. But if I have the understanding ki anyway, it is just the karma that is coming, so I may lose this feeling ki what is there to be grateful about? Anyway, it's the karma that's coming. He is just the messenger. Just like how we say for the distressing situations,
Oh,
He is
now,
a postman. Yeah, he's a postman of my karma. He's just a postman. Similarly, for good karma also, how that was my question. When we are
Oh,
trying to practice gratitude for positive, favorable things, so this understanding may, loosen up that feeling. So from that perspective, I wanted to understand.
No, even the devotee has to understand that it's not just karma. The agent who is bringing good reactions is also very important. And therefore, that agent should also be given that due respect and recognition. Here is a wonderful verse from the Bhagavatam, which specifies how the devotee sees even good situations. And here it's 7:9:20. Yasmin yato yarhi yena cha yasya yasmad yasmai yatha yadata yasva parah parova bhavah karoti vikaroti prithak svabhavah anchoditastadakhilam bhavatah swarupam. Prabhu, please read the translation.
Yeah, whatever agent possessing whatever nature is prompted to create or transform anything into whatever form from whatever source for whatever cause, irrespective of time, instrumentality, or its relatedness to anyone or separation from anyone, these all are your representatives.
Wonderful. So, Prabhu, the person who gave you something nice, isn't that person also a representative of Bhagavan?
Okay, yes.
So, we not only acknowledge that it was part of some karma, but we also acknowledge the instrument. Due acknowledgement should be given to Bhagavan who came as the instrument. So, that is what the Bhagavatam teaches us. In this way, you will not be ungrateful. That is the answer to the question. Right?
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
Next we have Abhishek Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, bro. My pranams.
My pranams.
I have a very small question. So suppose, let's say there are two persons, and person one has given some sort of pain to person two by doing some severe act. But after some time, the person one realized that he has done some wrong to the person two and asked forgiveness to the person two, and eventually person two has forgiven the person one. So will the karma gets wiped off, Prabhu, of the person one due to the forgiven given by the person two?
See, Prabhu, in general cases, forgiveness means that I am not seeking any revenge from you. I am not seeking it. This is the meaning of forgiveness. That I don't want you to get affected by any karma in the future. But when this person had put the other person into distress, that entire experience, that negativity, that delusion, that trauma, whatever happened has been recorded and noted down. Right?
Yes, Prabhu. Completely understood.
So it's not that I forgive you, so now it will be completely forgotten. Forgiven, but not forgotten. And forgiven, but not forgotten. All right? Forgiveness only means one thing. And everybody who should forgive. Forgiveness means that I am releasing my involvement in this entire matter. I hope you're able to understand. Forgiveness doesn't mean that I have the power to remove the sinful reaction.
Yes.
Forgiveness means I am removing my connection from this matter. This is forgiveness. That I will not harbor any negative feeling towards you. This is forgiveness.
Yes.
Forgiveness doesn't mean that I have the power to take away the negative reaction that is going to come to you. Because that will come according to laws of nature. But if somebody is a devotee and Bhagwan decides to reduce it, or Bhagwan decides to completely wipe it off, that's a different question altogether. But usually for those who are not devotees, the amount of time, the quantity of suffering, the quantity of delusion, the quantity of pain, all of that is going to be taken into account, and Bhagwan follows that law very strictly. That is the answer to the query. All right. Thank you.
I have another question, Prabhuji.
Sure.
Essentially, my question is whether there's any room for chance in the event of suffering. And for example, I think there must be because of our free will. So, if I'm on the road and I close my eyes and I just start driving, if the only thing that determines whether I crash and die is my karma, then I could drive blind. And if it's not my karma to not crash, then I would never crash. But obviously there's, a cause and effect in this world. And so if it's true for me, it must also be true for other people, that if someone by chance decides to close their eyes and drive next to me and then they crash into me and I die, isn't there some chance involved in our suffering, or is it 100% pure karma for everyone at all times?
Right. So first and foremost, for somebody to, just close their eyes while driving, like to do something out of the blue without any reason is generally not how things work in this world. Before a person voluntarily closes their eyes, Bhagwan is already going to give them the thought, you are about to commit suicide. This is potential suicide. That thought is going to arise in their mind at least once, at least for most people who will do that. Let's say a person doesn't voluntarily close their eyes, but they fall asleep while they're driving. They're falling asleep while they're driving. This is obviously a part of the grand scheme of things, because of all the days that they could fall asleep, they fell asleep only on this particular day. And out of many people who fall asleep behind the wheel, there are only a few of them who actually, pass away in accidents. So the result will also be determined whether you're going to crash into a tree, whether you're going to crash into another vehicle, whether you are going to not crash at all. All those things are determined. But such sudden events that suddenly out of the blue I decided to close my eyes, those events do not happen, because Paramatma within the heart gives a very strong warning that you are about to commit suicide and don't blow away your life like that. So even if we try to do that in real life, we will see immediately how there is a shock reaction from within the heart. Don't blow away your life. This is suicide. Don't do like this. So there are ample checks and measures within the human mind and body to prevent such random acts of foolishness from happening. But if somebody still goes ahead and does it, then obviously there is some scope for somebody who wants to voluntarily commit suicide. Of course, there is scope for somebody who wants to commit suicide. But a person who commits suicide, karma deals with them in a very, in a more harsh manner. But even in that case, the person, if there is somebody else who is in another vehicle which crashes with you, at least for that person, it is fixed that that particular person had to receive that reaction. So that is what I would like to say. So in the case of the perpetrator, it is suicide. In the case of the receiver, it is not, it is already determined. So that is the answer to the query.
Thank you. Could we say that there is some chance in when particular karma fructifies? Like, so if I drive on the road and close my eyes and I die, it was my karma, but I sped it up by tempting karma.
Yeah, you committed suicide. Yeah, you committed suicide.
Committed suicide. Yeah.
Yeah, and committing suicide is you directly interfered in the natural course of events. So that will bring about, definitely it will bring about a much more severe reaction than the usual flow of events.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Thank you. Next we have I called on Krishnadas Pachaprabhu? I don't think so.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Pranam. Am I audible, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, my question is there any explanation about the presence of Bhagwan everywhere? Like I heard one explanation that he is present in every atom, each and every atom. Then the question was maybe asked that between the two atoms is it present? So how can we explain?
Oh, wonderful. Sure. So there is an entire anuched in the Bhagavad Sandarbha, entire paragraph in the Bhagavad Sandarbha, which is dedicated to understanding this. I will show you that particular anuched and I will explain. This is when Shri Narad Muni visits Dwarka and yes, I am sharing my screen. Here is this Anuched 29 in the edition that I have. Madhyamakare eva sarvadharatvad vibhutvam sadhitam. Sarvagatatvad api sadhyate. Chitram bataitadekena vapusha yugapat prithak griheshu dveshta sahasram sriya eka udavat. Shri Narad Muni goes to Dwarka and he sees Bhagwan simultaneously marrying 16,000 princesses. And then so Krishnadas Prabhu, how many Krishna appeared from one Vasudeva and one Devaki?
One.
One. So where did the remaining 15,999 appear from?
I don't know, Guruji.
Oh, wonderful. So, so in this Anuched, he explains that I'm just giving a short summary. Bhagwan is present in all sizes, all shapes, all directions, and all possible forms. He is present everywhere. So he's not only present in the atoms, he's present between the atoms in all sizes. 1 inch Bhagwan, 2 inch Bhagwan, 3 inch Bhagwan, 4 inch Bhagwan, 10 inch Bhagwan, 10 inch Narsimhadev, 10 inch Vaman Dev, 10 inch Matsya Dev. All right. All forms of Bhagwan are omnipresent in all sizes and all shapes that are there in the spiritual world, and all facing all directions. Sarvato Mukham. Everywhere is his face. That is what Arjun started seeing in Bhagavad Gita. Sarvato Pani Padam. Everywhere are your hands and feet. Arjun got scared because he saw all of that at once. So this is the answer to the query. I hope that explains. All right.
Okay, Guru.
Thank you.
Next we have Hariḥ Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you for such a wonderful and informative class. So my doubt is like you said, a person's birth depends on his previous karma. But Bhagavad Gita also says that whatever you think of at the end of leaving your body or your end time, you will get that body in the next life. So which one is superior, birth by karma or birth by thoughts during leaving this body?
Oh, wonderful. Birth by karma is the de facto law. Birth by last moment thought is an exceptional case. So it is one of the exception to the de facto law of previous karma, Prabhuji. I hope that answers your query.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Next we have Surajyaksha Prabhu. Surajyaksha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
My pranams.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can you hear me, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for absolutely enlightening class. I have a small confusion, and thereafter this question is coming in my mind that we have seen, some children at the tender age, they take the bhakti. Some take the bhakti at the teenage age, and some take bhakti at middle age, and some take at the almost at the later age of their lives. So how do we understand this? The people taking bhakti at the different stages of their lives. So probably somebody who is taking bhakti at a later age stage of life might feel that why it is happening that he did not take it at a later at the tender age of the life. So I would like to understand what is the science behind this of this karma.
So, bhakti does not fall under any particular karma, na Prabhu. I have specified that bhakti is not part of the normal course of, any particular karma. Bhakti is basically, it is a transcendental entity which transcends all sorts of karma. So that is what bhakti is all about. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam and in many other places, it has been explained in great detail by the acharyas that when bhakti arrives in somebody's life, that bhakti arrives by some unexplainable cause. That cause cannot be explained by uh, the general laws of karma. So the exact term is yadrichaya. Yadrichaya. So I will quote from the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the term yadrichaya is explained. It is also explained in the Bhakti Sandarbha. I am sharing my screen. Just a minute. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. Here it is. So, Suradhyaksha Prabhu.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. So this is the exact meaning of yadrichaya, by some good fortune. Yadrichaya kenapi parama swatantra bhagavad bhakta sangha tat kripa jata mangalodayena. It says, how does this happen in one's life? Kenapi param swatantra bhagavad bhakta sangha. This association of the devotees is param swatantra. It is a topmost independent principle, not dependent on the laws of karma. Tat kripa jata mangal udayena. And by his mercy, that auspiciousness arises which is beyond the ordinary laws of karma. So there is no determining factor in this regard as to when somebody will receive bhakti. So it is param swatantra. It is supremely independent principle and it does not expect anything especially. It is not dependent on previous karma. So I hope that answers your query to some degree of satisfaction.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Next, we have a question in the chat from Bhakti Pravina Mataji. My pranams, thank you for this wonderful Harikatha. I was especially moved by the discovery and Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj's creative interpretation that the jiva and its pure existence automatically fulfills the effects of bhava as given in the tṛṇād api sunīcena shloka. Regarding Vasudeva Sarvam Iti, do we pay respect to non-perfected non-Vaishnavas only because Vasudeva is residing in them, or do we have separate respect for them also because they obviously have identities which are separate from Vasudeva also?
So what is the, what is
the question is, when we respect people who are not Vaishnavas, is it only and solely for the reason that God is in their heart, or do we also respect them for any other reason?
No, the primary respect is because Bhagavan is present in their heart. And it is specified by Bhagavan Rishabdev in the Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto. Bhagavan Rishabdev says, Sarvatra mad bhava vichakshanena. In 5.5.13, Sarvatra mad bhava vichakshanena. This is the nature of the devotee. And what is there? Is it mentioned in the translation here? Sarvatra mad bhava vichakshanena. Everywhere you see me. That is what the word for word. Here it is. Look upon everyone equally on the spiritual platform. Basically, look upon everybody as having Vasudev within their heart. So that is the main thing. And if somebody has some other greater capabilities in the world, we may give them some additional respect. But primary respect is due to the presence of Bhagavan within their hearts. So that is the answer to the query.
That's the primary reason. Is it the only reason?
That's the primary reason. Then they may have other godly qualities for which we may give them additional respect. So primary reason is presence of heart, the presence of Bhagwan in the heart. That is.
Got it. So also, if they're not a devotee, but they're patient or kind, we see these qualities as ultimately coming from God, and we respect them accordingly.
Yes. Yeah, because Bhagwan has said in the Bhagavad Gita that yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam shrimad urjitam evava tattadeva vakachatvam mama tejomsha sambhavam. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. So we recognize that in all living entities. That is the answer.
Thank you so much. Next we have Paramakaruna Prabhu.
Krishna, I'm sorry, I'm driving. Is my audio clear?
Yes, Prabhu.
I had two questions. I'll come back in line for the second one. This is regarding to the question that another devotee asked about forgiveness. And you answered from the standpoint of the forgiver, that he is detaching himself from that, and he is. So I understand that. But my question is from the side of the person asking for forgiveness. What's the stated intent in the Shastras of asking for forgiveness? The example that comes to my mind is when Shri Durvasa Muni went to Bhagwan Narayana, and then he said, Aham Bhakta Paradhino, and he said, I have one upaya, is to immediately go back to Ambarish Maharaj and ask for forgiveness, because only he can do that. And then he was relieved from the reactions. Ultimately, of course, Ambarish Maharaj also had to pray to Sudarshan Chakra to depart, but it did depart. So, may not eliminate the karmic reaction, but maybe reduce the karmic reaction, or isn't part of the intent for asking forgiveness on the part of the aggressor when he is asking for forgiveness is also to reduce the reaction that he would be due to receive once he realized that he made the mistake?
Well, that may be part of that may be part of intention of some people who are asking for forgiveness. Let's take the case of Durvasa Muni. Before he asked for forgiveness, he already had to suffer a lot, wherein the Sudarshan Chakra is chasing him throughout the universe, and he's feeling the incredible scorching burning of that Sudarshan Chakra, and then he is humiliated throughout the universe, and everybody rejects him, and his name will be written in history as somebody who faced such a massive humiliation. That suffering has already happened for him. So it's not that his suffering was nullified and zerofied just because he asked for forgiveness. The ideal mood for asking for forgiveness is that I am willing to take the negative reaction, but keeping aside that, after I suffer through the reaction, I agree to suffer through the reaction, but please forgive my intent for my original negative tendency that I had when I perpetrated against you. Please forgive that tendency, because I am willing to go through the negative result. But please forgive my original negative tendency, because my negative tendency was an effect of my previous lifetimes. So I'm sorry I had that negative tendency. So please forgive my negative tendency. I am willing to go through the due system of justice. So that is what real forgiveness is about. And of course, some forgiveness is also about trying to reduce the amount of suffering. So this is what I can say in this regard. I hope that answers your query to some degree of satisfaction.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, and I forgot how much he already suffered.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that out in a very colorful way. Wonderful.
Next, we have a question from Dr. Maitreya Daswan. I understand that the jiva is beginningless, anadi. If the jiva has no beginning, how did that suffering first arise between the jivas? In other words, why would one jiva become the cause of another jiva's suffering in the first place? Is it possible for a jiva to suffer without having any previous karma simply due to the actions of another jiva?
It's already in the window of anadi. How can you ask that question?
I wrote that it's inconceivable, achintya, but
Yeah,
I thought I'd ask anyway.
yeah.
So that's the answer. It's inconceivable.
Yeah.
Because it's
Achintya.
beginningless.
Yeah.
I find it inconceivable.
Yeah. This is there is a verse in the Mahabharata, Bhishma Parva. Achintya khalu ye bhava natam starkeshu yojayet. I will try to show natam starkena yojayet. Here is the verse quoted by Srila Prabhupada. Achintya khalu ye bhava natam starkena yojayet. Achintya khalu ye bhava, things which have gone into the window of achintya, natam starkena yojayet. Don't try to make a rational reasoning with that, because you will hit a wall and you will not be able to come to a conclusion. So that is what it is.
Thank you. Next we have Bhavya Bhagavan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, my question is with respect to Nitya Siddhas. I mean, there were two questions regarding that. So, if I can ask, otherwise it's okay, Prabhuji.
Ask one question.
Yeah. Prabhuji, so this is about a purport Prabhupada is saying in Madhya Lila, that one who is engaged in the Lord's devotional service 24 hours daily and never forgets the Lord is called Nitya Siddha. Simply by accepting the associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Nitya Siddha, one can very easily go back home, back to Godhead. So, Prabhuji, my question is, there are many preachers and devotees who are engaged 24 hours 7 in spreading the glories of the Lord. So, Prabhu, so should we accept all of them as Nitya Siddhas, Prabhuji, or like who is to be understood, Prabhuji, from this purport of Srila Prabhupada?
The purport of Srila Prabhupada is referring to a composition of Shri Narottam Das Thakur, and so one who accepts the Sangi Gane, one who accepts the immediate associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Nitya Siddhas, Sejaye Brajendra Sutapas. He can become an associate of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. So it is the original Bangla is speaking about the immediate associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that is the answer to the query.
So what Prabhupada is saying about those who are preaching, so how do we understand that, Prabhuji?
Is this related to today's class, Prabhuji?
No, that's why I clarified it before only, Prabhuji.
We're just only taking questions related to today's class.
That's okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Next we have Ajay Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for giving this another chance. I have a follow-up question that was asked before, I guess, by Harsh Prabhu. He asked about birth by karma or birth by the thoughts during leaving this body. So we see in the lifetime of Bharat Maharaj that he performed bhakti for a very long time, and at the end moment of his life, he thought about a deer. So he got the next life as a deer. So that made me question something. I'm not sure if I can use these words to demean bhakti, because he performed bhakti. So bhakti should be the one that would grasp over his memory. And Bhagwan also says na, that if you cannot remember me at the end moment, then I remember you. So why did it happen that he had to take over the body of a deer?
Of course. So the specific example of Bharat Maharaj has been discussed by the previous acharyas. That example is not out of, he did not take birth out of his previous karma. I would like to show a verse from Brihad Bhagavatamritam of Shri Sanatan Goswami. Let me point out that verse from the Brihad Bhagavatamritam of Shri Sanatan Goswami. Yeah, this is what it is. Dussanga dosham, here it is. Dussanga dosham bharatadayo yatha durdyuta dosham cha yudhishtiradaya brahmasva bhitim cha trigadayo mala pradarshayan swavyavaharato janan. Prabhu, can you read the translation, please?
Prabhuji, my internet is a little slow, so it takes time to load.
Sure.
I'll read. As Bharata and others showed the fault of bad association, Yudhisthira and others the fault of gambling, and Nriga and others the fear caused by taking a Brahmana's property, pure souls generally use their own behavior to teach the people.
So the example of Bharat Maharaj is not according to his previous karma. The previous acharyas have said that there are certain examples which Bhagavan interfered and did something in order to give some historical examples, and these living entities agreed to that arrangement of Bhagavan, and they voluntarily agreed to be part of that arrangement of Bhagavan. Therefore, today they are counted as those examples. So this is the answer to the query.
Prabhuji, can I ask what was that historical thing that Bhagavan wanted to exhibit by Bharat Maharaj?
He said the fault of bad association, dussanga dosham. This is what it says, the verse says directly.
So bad association of a deer?
Association of any entity which takes you away from bhakti.
Okay, so we can say this is an exceptional case.
Yes, wonderful.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. This was a very long question since a long time, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Forgive me for adding one point, but it's not only who we associate, but how we associate with them. Just like when we go on book distribution, we're associating with non-devotees all day long, but that's actually the not the people we're associating with is good, but the quality of the association itself is good because we're lifting them up to Krishna consciousness. So sometimes satsanga means associating with people who are uplifting, but sometimes it means associating in a way that's uplifting. And so Bharat Maharaj was associating with the deer in a way which it was spiritually degrading, even though obviously the deer isn't a evil character or anything like that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Prabhu.
Next we have Anila Chala Chandrika Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the second chance. Just a quick question. Akal Mrityu is also part of karma?
Akal Mrityu or untimely death. The meaning of Akal is untimely from our perspective. This person should not have died at this time, but he died suddenly. That is called Akal Mrityu. But unless it is suicide, every Mrityu is already destined. That is the answer.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next we have a question from Ritik Prabhu. He asks, it said that at the time of initiation, all parabdha and aparabdha karma is destroyed for a devotee. So how do we understand that they're suffering from their past karma after initiation?
At the time of initiation, prarabdha karma is prarabdha is the karma which we are going through in this life. And prarabdha karma is destroyed to a certain extent. It is not completely destroyed. If prarabdha karma will be completely destroyed, then the human body will cease to exist. Therefore, prarabdha karma is destroyed only till the extent that the devotee is one pointed towards Bhagavan. This is specified by Shri Baladev Vidyabhushan in his commentary to the 4th verse of Namashtakam. And I am pointing it out. This is the 4th verse of Namashtakam. I am sharing my screen. Here it is. Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan says, Atha ekanti bhaven upasitam nam bhogaika vinashyam api prarabdham vinaiva bhogad vinashayati iti. Prarabdha usually has to be suffered, but only those who are one pointed towards Bhagwan and Bhagwan's Naam, only in their case Prarabdha is fully destroyed. In the case of the other devotees who are not yet one pointed, to the degree that they are not one pointed, to that degree Prarabdha karma still remains active within their lives. So that is the answer to the query.
I have a question, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
When Sri Adi Shankaracharya elevated particular statements of the Vedas as Mahavakyas, was that choice arbitrary, or do we find any evidence in the actual text that those should be taken as the primary statements of the Upanishads?
No, his repetition of those statements throughout his commentaries is what turned them into Mahavakyas. And there is a statement in the Mahabhashya of Patanjali. And this statement I would like to point out that sometimes acharyas don't speak something directly. Yes, here is what Shri Patanjali Muni says in the Mahabhashya, and I am going to share my screen. On the Ashtadhyayi 6.137, he says, Ingitena cheshtitena nimishitena mahatava sutra prabandena acharyanam abhiprayo gamyate. Ingitena, sometimes by their indications, sometimes by their writing, sometimes by their actions. So there are many ways of understanding the intention of an acharya. Sri Adi Shankaracharya's repetition of that Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi so frequently, it gave an indication to the followers that these are Mahavakyas of the Upanishads, which they took up. That is the answer to the question.
So he made them important. It's not that the Vedas make them important.
The Upanishads treat all statements alike, but he highlighted those Mahavakyas in his commentaries on the Upanishads and Vedanta.
Understood. Thank you so much. Next we have Paramakaruna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. My question was regarding the aspect of Vriddha that you had mentioned earlier in the beginning and last class.
Yeah.
So the question I had is, and you clarified today about from the quote by Srila Prabhupada about being Vriddha from the perspective of knowledge. So and it was a very nice quote by Sri Chanakya that to develop humility, service to Vriddha is a wonderful means or a way. If one has found a person who is very knowledgeable and a great Vaishnava, but is not Vriddha, should both conditions be met, or should we just take it from the standpoint of their knowledge and their advancement, their realizations, and not worry about the age at all?
No,
or
usually,
I'm asking rather which one overrides, or should it be both? Or
usually knowledge and level of realization overrides other considerations, as seen in the case of Shri Parikshit Maharaj giving respect to Vriddha, Shri Shukadev Goswami. So the Bhagavatam is based on giving respect to a Vriddha who was only 16 years of age. That is the consideration which should be given primary importance.
wonderful. Yes. Thank you for clarifying.
Next we have Ajay Krishna Prabhu. Are you there, Ajay Krishna Prabhu? Oh, let me hit the button. There we go.
Yes, Prabhuji. I wasn't able to unmute myself. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, and sorry for bothering you again. My question is that many times I have seen the misuse of this particular statement, nimitta matram bhaya sabyasachi, because people think that we are the order carriers of the Lord, so it is our duty to do everything right in this world of wrongdoings. Like, for example, even in that devotional society, in the institution, ISKCON society as well. I have seen, like, if someone on a higher position, let's say if he does something wrong, if he does something bad out of his previous samskaras, obviously, there are some kind of people who thinks that it is their duty to do the right thing, like. That thing I've mentioned, nimitta matram bhaya we are the order carriers of the Lord. How can we see this we can see this person doing wrong in this place? So, meaning, up to how much extent can we use that thing in our, not in our, matlab, I want to speak in Hindi, matlab फायदा नहीं उठाना है हमको उसका, but how can we do it in the right extent that is beneficial for us and for everyone as well?
Nimitta matram bhava sabyasachi was a very contextual statement that you only become the instrument of this entire Mahabharat war. I will, I have already done everything. So, nimitta matram bhava sabyasachi is in that very specific context. To take that statement out of context and apply it elsewhere is not justified. It should only be applied in contexts that have been given by the traditional commentators of that but on Bhagavad Gita. To take that statement out of context is to misapply it. So whatever context has been given by Srila Sridhar Swami, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan, that is the only specific context of that statement. It should not be pulled out of context. So that is what I would like to say. And I don't want to, you took the name of one particular institution, but I don't want to, therefore I want the questions to stay away from all institutions or individuals. Hare Krishna.
Yes, I'm really sorry about that.
So, Jai Krishna Prabhu, was your question if representatives of the Lord are his instruments, then if they do something bad, does that mean that God wanted them to do it? Was that your question?
My question was that some people think that we should be the one to do. We should be the one to rectify the person who is doing the wrong thing. We should be the teachers to pull out the person who is doing the wrong thing.
No, only if we have adhikar. Only if we have been given the adhikar. Arjun first had the adhikar to fight the war because he was a Kshatriya and he was in a position where the war was justified. So he had the adhikar. Arjun was not an unadhikari. He had the proper adhikar, and then he executed the duty. So similarly, if we are in a position within the institution where it is within our adhikar to correct others, then we can make use of that adhikar. Otherwise, our only duty is to report it to those who actually have adhikar. That is what can be done in such situations. Thank you.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
We have another question here. In regards to the guru taking the karma of the disciple, does this happen at the time of Harinam Diksha, Mantra Diksha, or does it just go on throughout the relationship of guru and disciple? And do they take only part of the karma or all of it?
It's not that guru takes the karma. The Hari Bhakti Vilas specifies in the commentary to that particular verse that the guru takes the karma of the disciple who has not been selected carefully, who has been selected without proper consideration, without proper training, who has been selected in a haphazard manner. And especially if the disciple is going to continue the negative tendencies, then that guru is definitely going to get the karma of the disciple who was selected incorrectly. And that verse from the Hari Bhakti Vilas, Tatha Shishyarjitam Papam Guruho Prapnoti Nishchitam. There is also a verse in the Manu Samhita about the guru taking the sins of the disciple. And in that, I will try to remember that verse. It was in the 8th chapter of Manusmriti. But in any case, there is a commentator on Manusmriti. His name is Medhatithi. Medhatithi, in his commentary to that particular verse of the Manusmriti, he says that when the Guru does not correct the disciple properly, and the Guru does not chastise the disciple when the disciple does something wrong, and the Guru just lets the disciple do whatever the disciple wants to do, that particular time the Guru receives the negative reactions of the disciple. So that is the specific context. So I understood a greater context of that verse when I saw Medhatithi's commentary on the Manusmriti. So that is what the answer is to that question.
It sounds like these are instructions meant for the Guru and not for the disciple.
Yes, they are for the Guru.
Let me follow up on that, because I know I've heard this a million times. So many devotees feel a lot of guilt and shame if they break the regular principles, because they feel they're causing their Guru to suffer personally. Should they have that feeling?
See, I will show you the original verse from Shastra and what Sri Sanatana Goswami says. Here is what it says. तथा रागी चामात्यजा दोषः पत्नी पापम सभर्तरि तथा शिष्यार्जितम पापम गुरु प्राप्नोति निश्चितम. First chapter, 77 verse. Ragi chamatyaja dosha. The king receives the faults of the minister. Patni papam svabhartari. The husband receives the faults of the wife. Tatha shishyarjitam papam. Similarly, the faults of the disciple, guru prapnoti. The guru receives nishchitam, definitely. What is the context? Context is given by Shri Sanatana Goswami. Guruna tu avashyameva shishya pariksha karya. The guru should definitely test the disciple. And for this reason, the guru is being instructed that test the disciple and train him properly before you initiate him. Otherwise, you will receive the negative reactions of the disciple. So this should not be flipped around to, to that disciple and to put the disciple in guilt that you are giving your guru these negative reactions. The original verse is not meant for that. Of course, a sincere disciple will naturally feel some guilt on doing something wrong. That is a part of natural guilt. But added guilt should not be done, because the verse is not meant to address to the disciple. The verse is Guruna. It is addressed to the Guru. That is what the verse is about. So that is what Sri Sanatana Goswami says in the comment.
Thank you so much. Next we have Bhavya Bhagavan Prabhu. Oh, sorry, I had to unmute.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for giving me another chance. So, Prabhuji, you just clarified. So, Haripasha, this holds true for like those people also, those who recommend gurus, different people for initiation. Like if somebody is a counselor, so they are also held responsible for recommending. That they will also, if they don't analyze somebody who's properly qualified or not, so they also incur that, Prabhuji?
See, Prabhu, the traditional system is very stringent, and it is there to ensure that nobody receives any fault. Modern day systems are aimed at maximizing number of devotees. So obviously there will be some trade-off. And this is the reason why I'm hesitant to speak about how people in institutions will receive some reactions. The reason why I'm hesitant is because Shastra is very clear about it, that the relationship of guru and disciple is a very special one. It should not be taken up in a hasteful manner, and certainly one should not try to push some guru onto a particular disciple who is not ready right now to accept that particular guru. This is what I would like to say. Whether somebody will receive a reaction or not, that Bhagwan should judge. But my point of view is that we should make sure that the guru and disciple get enough time so to understand each other. That is what is the intention of the verse.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Here's another question from Manohar Gopal Prabhu. Devotees do not suffer because of karma, but it is the Lord's arrangement. Does this apply to all devotees at all levels, or for some devotees at an advanced level?
Some devotees, prarabdha karma may not be fully exhausted. They may be suffering from prarabdha karma. But even if they are suffering from prarabdha karma, they see it as Bhagwan's arrangement. So, whether they are suffering due to Bhagwan's arrangement or due to their prarabdha karma, the ultimately they look at prarabdha karma also as indirect arrangement of Bhagwan. That is the answer to the query.
I have another question, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
When I suffer and initially I blame someone else, but then I reflect. I forget you use a phrase from Tatyana Kampam Samiksha. So then I engage in Samiksha and I reflect on it and I think, no, actually it's my fault because of my past karma. I've switched the direction of the blame from blaming others to blaming myself. But is there a way to think about this in which there's no blame? Is there a higher way to think about this? Because aren't we meant to see some value and opportunity of growth in the experience rather than just blame myself?
Oh, of course. The verse says, Ridvag Vapurpir Vidadhan Namaste. Then instead of suffering through it, because see, Prabhu, I'll tell you something. I'll give you a very simple example. There was a particular person who went through a very difficult time in his marriage, and that devotee came to me, and then I said, you went through a difficult time in marriage and you got separated, and I asked him. He said, was there something in my karma? I said, we can have a look at your birth chart, astrological chart, and that's a good indicator of where things were headed. And we saw the chart, and the 7th house is the house of marriage in the Vedic Jyotish chart. And in his 7th house, there were many malefic planets. And of course, I said, it is right here that it was indicated that there is going to be a potential problem in your relationship. So, after you understand that there is a higher principle involved, the suffering reduces a lot. Yeah, you may say that in my previous lives, I committed such karma that I got such an astrological position in my chart. But ultimately, after we are not putting the blame on ourselves in the current life, we are putting the blame on a previous action in a previous life. So it's not active blame, it is passive blame on a previous life. So that we don't suffer through the guilt that I am responsible in this life. I am responsible in a previous life, something which I have done in a previous life. So after hearing that, this particular devotee understood and said, now I don't have to suffer so much. I knew that some of those things were going to happen. I don't have to suffer so much every single day. So in this way, the devotee stops suffering through it, because the devotee understands what were the factors that went into this suffering. And as so that understanding those factors is a very important part of reducing suffering. Because when you understand which factors came through to ensure that you suffer in this way, then you don't suffer in ignorance. Although the effects of suffering are still there, but there is knowledge of why you are suffering. And because there is knowledge of why we are suffering, the suffering is reduced to a great degree. And of course, time is the final band-aid, which completely stops the effect of that suffering. After some time, the suffering will completely go away, but small memories of that suffering will remain. So you can heavily reduce your suffering and by understanding higher principles. So this is what the Tattenu compound verse teaches us.
Because we understand it was our inevitable fate and it's not something unfair that we're supposed to undo, should be undone by the universe or something. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I really appreciate it.
I really recommend devotees who suffer because Acharyas also, recent Acharyas also took a lot of help of Jyotish, Vedic astrology, to understand what is the cause of suffering in this life. Srila Prabhupada would often not travel on Thursdays. Srila Prabhupada often wore a ring around his finger. Have you seen Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu that Srila Prabhupada used to wear a ring around his finger, which had
Yes.
a gemstone? So what is the reason of wearing a ring with a gemstone around his finger?
To undo the effects of astrology?
Yeah, to undo the effects of certain malefic planets and to increase the effect of certain benefic planets. Those are the reasons why certain gemstones are worn on certain fingers. Although Srila Prabhupada is transcendental to all material considerations, yes. But when Srila Prabhupada is thinking from his own point of view, he knows that the astrologer had predicted in his childhood he will have these characteristics, he will make so many temples. And Srila Prabhupada wants to increase the influence of that. Definitely, he is also taking help of Jyotish. So, those devotees who are suffering, they should also take help of Vedic sciences such as Jyotish to make sure that they understand the higher purpose behind their current suffering. And so that will reduce their experience of suffering and detach them a lot from the pain that they are going through. So this is what I can recommend.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Next, we have a question from Dhaniya.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you very much for a beautiful class. I have a question. If there is a person A who performs bhakti and there is a person B who harms, if the person A starts to pray for B so that B does that bhakti, that anga bhakti, which B harms for A to do, then will that help? Will be that helpful? And this is not a karma. Then what is this when others help one's spiritual life?
And Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu, did you understand the query?
I think she asked if a devotee is harmed by someone and they pray for that devotee, is that helpful or does it just increase the devotee's karma?
If a devotee is harmed by a non-devotee, and who prays for whom?
The devotee prays for the non-devotee. Is that a helpful prayer or is it just increasing karma for the devotee?
No, prayers to bring somebody to bhakti are not part of karma. Prayers to Bhagavan to make jivas favorable, they are not part of karma. So it is not going to increase the devotee's karma in any way. But whether Bhagavan will bring that person on the path of bhakti or not, that is completely up to the will of Bhagavan. That is the answer to the query.
And we have a question from Leela Matri Prabhu. Subhashina Ratna Bandagaram, is it Niti Shastra literature?
Subhashit Ratna Bhandagar is a collection of wisdom quotes from all varieties of Sanskrit literature categorized into topics. If you want to find a verse relevant to a particular topic, you can find it in Subhashit Ratna Bhandagaram. It's thousands of verses and categorized into various topics. They are collected from various Sanskrit literature. They are quotable quotes. That is Subhashit Ratna Bhandagaram.
All right. I think that's all of our questions.
Thank you.
We've addressed everything. I'll give one last chance if someone wants to raise their hand. 3, 2, 1. Okay, Manohar Gopal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat. Thank you for the wonderful class. One question regarding this Anadikal Prabhu. So when we say the Jiva's existence Anadikal, and there is also another statement, Eko Bahusham, like one Lord wanted to become many. So how is it that then he became many, but some as Nitya Siddhas and some as Nitya Baddhas? Like this seems like partiality kind of from the Lord's side. So how to understand this? Or is it the Achintya Shakti we need to...
No. Ekoham, I am alone, Bahusyam, let me become many. I am alone because all the living entities were within his body at the time of destruction. That is why he was alone. Bahusyam, let me become many. How will he become many? By manifesting those living entities from the previous creation. So that is how Ekoham Bahusyam is understood. He did not create the living entities. The living entities were eternally existing, and from the previous dissolution, they were in his body. So let me become many again by manifesting them again in the material world. So that is how he manifests the living entities. That is the meaning of Ekoham Bahusyam.
Okay, this is from the context of material creation, not really with respect to the. Okay.
Of course. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we already addressed the question of fairness of some jivas being nitya baddha and some being nitya mukta.
Yeah.
So,
all
right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your patience with my moderation. I do it very imperfectly, so I'm very grateful for your cooperation. I'd like to invite everyone to unmute and give a big thank you to Hari Parshad Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Prabhuji. Thanks.
Hari Pārṣad Prabhu ki jai.
Thank you so much.
Ki
Thank you
jai.
so much.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you so much,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Srila
Rama,
Prabhupada ki
Hare
jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Ram Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Srila
Krishna
Prabhupada ki
Hare
jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Ranga,
Thank you so much,
bye.
Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Take
God
care,
bless you,
everyone.
Prabhu.
Hari Bol.
Hare Bol. Srila